Chapter 30. The journey was rather smooth. They didn't encounter any attacks. The infiltration was successful. Everyone was excited. After all, so many people had infiltrated the enemy's base. They could definitely achieve an important strategic goal. But Carrie and Xiao He weren't very happy. Chen Zhao had once said that an infiltration attack was completely different from a head-on battle. In an infiltration attack, there couldn't be more than 2 people, or even more than 2 people. It was almost impossible to infiltrate with more than 2 people. If more than 2 people could still infiltrate successfully, it could only mean that the enemy had let them in on purpose. There was a trap waiting for them. Carrie and Xiao He tried to explain what they were thinking. But Cran Lisis didn't believe them at all. More accurately, she and the people from the Duke's mansion were immersed in the joy of their successful infiltration. Carrie and Xiao He already regretted working with them. 20 people had successfully infiltrated? What the hell was this? From the moment they set foot in this place, they had probably already discovered it. Now, the 2 only planned to go home and get married after this battle. No, to leave the Duke's mansion. The places they had infiltrated were all kinds of pipes of various sizes. Some of the pipes were still leaking air. Carrie and Xiao He glanced at each other. This was definitely a good place to attack. If the enemy had individuals who were good at concealment. Suddenly, a member of the Duke's mansion screamed without any warning. When everyone turned around, they realized that the person had been dragged above the pipe. It's an organic mutant. Everyone, be careful. Both Carrie and Xiao Hector recalled the targeted training they had received. It was this kind of concealment type of enemy. Watch out! Xiao He suddenly yelled and threw a black substance into the air. It hit an organic mutant that had just popped its head out. The organic mutant was about to attack one of them. Xiao He's black substance landed on the organic mutant's body, and the organic mutant instantly twisted and fell to the ground. Kill it! Everyone focused their fire and the organic mutant was blown to pieces. There's another one. Another organic mutant was taken down by Xiao He. Xiao He was very good at this. These organic aberrations were very strong and fast, but they were also very fragile. They were like lynxes that had shed their skin. Their bodies were drenched in blood and looked extremely terrifying. They could easily grab an adult, then use their corrosive claws to make the prey lose the ability to resist in an instant, and then drag them into the darkness to tear them apart in less than a second. However, their resistance to attacks was very weak. As long as they could detect or predict their movements in advance, they could be shot down instantly. What Xiao He practiced was a magic art passed down in her family, the blood refining spell. This spell was both offensive and defensive. In a head-on confrontation, it was extremely lethal. Even if it was a defensive counterattack, he still had a strong ability to control the situation. Xiao He didn't need to kill them directly. She just needed to discover them in advance and then cast the necrosis spell, and they would temporarily lose their ability to move and fall from their hiding places. Scurvy was a spell that directly created a blood clot inside the enemy's body. It was very effective when the opponent was least expecting it. This was especially true for organic aberrations that had low magic resistance. One shot was enough to render the organic mutant immobile. She didn't need to worry about the rest. The people from the Duke's mansion were more than happy to finish them off. As for how to discover these hidden organic mutants, it was very simple. Jiawen and Jiawa shared their senses. Jiawa had already discovered all the organic mutants nearby. Jiawa would then inform Jiawen, and Jiawen would then share the information with Xiao He. Of course, Xiao He's reaction time was still a bit slow due to the information being transmitted 3 times. However, this was enough to deal with these organic mutants. The others also noticed that Xiao He's reaction time was too sharp. She could almost instantly make the organic mutants fall from their heads as soon as they appeared. By the time they reached the end, they had already eliminated more than 20 organic mutants. All of them were killed by Xiao He, and then they would finish them off. Xiao He, you're really amazing. How did you do it? Codelus asked in surprise. They pushed open a hatch, and inside was a circular attic walkway. It looked like a patio, but the top was completely sealed. When they entered in a single file, the hatch behind them suddenly slammed shut. Who? Which one of you closed it? Codelus had a bad feeling about this. Their people would never do something so stupid. At that moment, deformed monsters appeared at the entrance of the circular walkway. Organic mutants, organic fusion mutants, and some other monsters that looked similar yet different. Everyone's expression changed. Not good. This is a trap. Xiao He and Zhaowen wished they could slap Codelus away. They had already told her about it. She had always refused to accept their argument. They had even reminded Codelus again when they were in the exhaust pipe. It was such an obvious sign, but Codelus still refused to accept it. Now that the trap had been activated, she finally believed it. Wasn't it too late? Fight! Fight! Codelus was trying to rally everyone. However, from her expression, it was clear that she had lost all hope. Just like her, the others had similar expressions of despair. Xiao He and Zhaowen were standing in a corner. They had set up this time not to fight back recklessly. First, they had to find a blind spot. In a battle with so many people, positioning was very important. They could not trust anyone else, so they could not leave their backs to anyone else. That was why they had to find a blind spot. To ensure that no one would suddenly attack them from above or behind them. The battle was fierce, and the people from the Duke's mansion fell one after another. However, this had nothing to do with Xiao He and Zhaowen. They had always been at their own pace. As long as they were not ambushed, their side was as stable as a dog. But Buwu had not made his move yet. There was no time for him to act yet. These things looked disgusting and difficult to deal with. In terms of timing, Xiao He and Zhaowen could easily deal with them. Compared to the situation back in the village. The situation here was child's play. If one had to point out the difficulty, it was the people from the Duke's mansion. Codelus suddenly turned to look at Xiao He and Zhaowen. She was shocked to find that there were monster corpses and minced meat in front of Xiao He and Zhaowen. She was stunned. So strong. They were so strong. That was her first thought. The others could barely deal with a monster with a few people. However, Xiao He and Zhaowen could deal with several at once. Moreover, they were standing in a corner, which ensured that the number of monsters that could attack them at the same time would not exceed 2 digits. The organic amalgamations that gave the people from the Duke's mansion a headache could not even last one round against them. Chapter 30-31. Jiao Liwen, hold on. I need to recover my magic power. Alright. Jiao Liwen nodded. She had used up a lot of her magic power, but she could still hold on. Xiao He was about the same as her. She still had some magic power. She was just recovering her magic power in advance to ensure the flow of the battle. There were less than 10 people left in the Duke's mansion. The rest weren't just strong. It was only because they were lucky. But now, they were dumbfounded. The number of monsters that Xiao He and Carrie had killed was more than the total number of monsters that the 20 of them had killed. Not just a lot, but a lot. He was too strong. He was unreasonably strong. For example, the organic fusion body. They had to slow down and put some distance between them before killing them with powerful magic. But for Xiao He and Jiao Liwen, it was just a matter of magic. Codelus was also dumbfounded. Everyone, get to the wall. Retreat to their side. Codelus's mind was much clearer now. He knew that he couldn't interfere with Xiao He and Jia Liwen's teamwork. If they recklessly interfered with Xiao He and Jia Liwen's battle, they would become a burden. If they collapsed, the Duke's mansion's forces, including herself, would be doomed. However, there were simply too many monsters. They seemed to have been released from their cages and kept surging out. Codelus had been observing Jia Liwen and Xiao He. She was worried that they would run out of energy. But what surprised her was that no matter how many monsters came, the two were still able to maintain a high rate of killing. Codelus clearly didn't know that Xiao He and Jia Liwen could last an entire night in this situation. To them, this was a normal operation. They didn't feel the slightest bit of pressure in this situation. In fact, they suddenly realized how strong they were. This is too troublesome. There's no end to this. Jia Liwen, use your ultimate move. We'll open a path, Xiao He said. All right. Jia Liwen quickly formed a seal with both hands. Old Lord Taisheng, I command you. While chanting the incantation, Jia Liwen sent out a hand seal. Yuan Wu suddenly charged out. The seal landed on Yuan Wu's body. In an instant, Yuan Wu's body turned solid and golden. Everyone looked at Yu Wu's mighty and majestic body in shock. Be careful. Those flesh monsters are highly corrosive even if they're summoned creatures, Cranlisi reminded. But Carrie turned a deaf ear to Cranlisi's warning. Although Ma Wu's figure was enormous, it was rather agile, and its speed was even swift to the extreme. It leaped over a dozen meters away and tapped its claws on one of the organic fusion beasts. The organic fusion body instantly turned into a gold-like substance, and its body was also frozen. In the end, it turned into golden liquid and never came back to life. Just like that, Yuan Wu tapped a few more times, and a path along the way had already been cleared. Everyone couldn't help but gasp. He was too strong. He was at the legendary level. Cranliso stared at Carrie's figure. Is this the top inheritance of China? Compared to the people of the Duke's mansion, it was a completely different concept. Keep up, cried Carrie. The golden pantheon was slammed into the iron door on the other side. The moment he touched the metal door, it turned golden and melted. Everyone hurriedly followed Xiao He and Jia Liwen. At the exit of the circular tunnel was a long and narrow passageway. There were also a large number of flesh monsters. The golden pantheon Wu charged forward. No matter what it encountered, it would just charge through. But Cranlisi could see that. The golden light on the creature's body was gradually fading. It seemed that it wasn't permanent. Only when the golden light on the pantheon Wu completely faded did it return to Jia Liwen's side. However, there were still more flesh monsters ahead. All of you, back off. Cast a magic barrier on yourselves, Xiao He said. Xiao He also decided to unleash a powerful attack. Fiendish blood soul refinement. Explode. Xiao He first detonated the blood on one of the flesh monsters. Then, that flesh monster exploded, its flesh and blood splattering on the other flesh monsters. A third, a fourth, a fifth, it was like a chain mine had been detonated. Explosions rang out one after another. Xiao He let out a long sigh. These guys are really easy to deal with. They're much easier than the demons and devils we encountered before, Xiao He said in a relaxed manner. Xiao He was not blowing her own trumpet. These flesh monsters were too easy to deal with. Her technique was to convert the blood of the flesh monsters into fiendish blood. This fiendish blood could cause explosions. But generally speaking, it wasn't easy to deal with spiritualists. First of all, spiritualists' magic resistance had already greatly reduced the power of the technique. Moreover, spiritualists would usually cast a magic barrier on themselves first. This caused the power of the spell to drop again and again. But these flesh monsters were man-made. Their magic resistance was very, very low. Not only did the power of Xiaohe's technique not decrease, it actually increased. This made Xiaohe's chain explosion even more effective. After the first flesh monster exploded, the fiendish blood splattered on the other flesh monsters. The flesh monsters that were caught in the explosion would also self-detonate due to the fiendish blood. After repeating this process for a dozen or so seconds, nearly 100 flesh monsters in the passage had self-detonated. And Xiaohe's magic power was pitifully low. Too powerful. Everyone sighed. They had thought that Jiao Liwen was already strong enough. But Xiaohe's performance wasn't inferior to Jiao Liwen at all. But at the end of the passage, flesh monsters began to appear again. Everyone hurriedly followed Xiaohe and Jiao Liwen's footsteps. The limit that had just appeared was meaningless to Xiaohe and Jiao Liwen. When they pushed open the door at the end of the passage again, everyone found that there were people here. It was these guys in white coats who were continuously releasing their test subjects. Not good, they're coming, damn, there are so many organisms, why can't they stop them? The researcher in the white coat was about to raise his machine gun. But at this moment, the murderous people of the Duke's mansion all glared at the researcher. The researchers decisively put down their guns and cupped their fists. Immediately stop releasing these monsters. If you don't listen, you can go and stay with your test subjects. The researchers immediately stopped the gate. In the surveillance room, they saw that these flesh monsters came out from the single-spaced compartments. Finally done. Xiaohe and Jiao Liwen both heaved a long sigh of relief. Find a way out. It's too dangerous to stay here. Chapter 30-32. They had finally escaped safely. They had also captured a few technicians along the way. Although many people had been sacrificed, they were still quite happy. We still have things to do, so we'll be leaving first, Xiaohe said, planning to part ways with the Duke's people. Where are you going? I'll arrange a place for you. Thank you, but there's no need. We've already booked a hotel. Then I'll pick you up tomorrow and discuss with you what to do next, Cranlisi said sincerely. Thank you, but we have our own arrangements. But we have something very important. Carrie finally could not hold it in any longer. She roared, I don't want to team up with you idiots anymore. You've really changed my view of idiots. Are you professionals? Even pigs are more professional than you. Those weak things, apart from being ugly, what's so special about them? Nothing, absolutely nothing. They're 100 times weaker than our cockroaches, yet half of you people died. What surprises me the most is that you idiots can still laugh after your comrades died. I don't understand what you're so happy about. Did those dead idiots steal your girlfriends? Or did they sleep with your mother? Fuck. Why would I team up with you? Is there something wrong with my brain? Heavens, you're really not suited to this game of saving the world. Go find a job washing dishes. Only by doing that will you be safe. The people of the Duke's mansion were frightened by Carrie's roar. The louder Carrie's voice, the more unpleasant her words were, the less the people of the Duke's mansion dared to retort. From a certain point of view, Carrie was right. But they were also somewhat indignant. It's not that we're too weak. It's that you're too strong. Someone muttered in a low voice. The people of the Duke's mansion agreed with this statement. That's right, it wasn't that they were too weak. It was simply that Carrie and Xiaohe were too strong. These two women were ridiculously strong monsters. They had never seen such strong people before. Carrie left in a huff. Xiaohe was not happy with the strength of the people of the Duke's mansion. However, she did not think that it was necessary for Carrie to shed all pretense of cordiality with them. "Carrie, you shouldn't do this. At the very least, it's not the time to fall out with them yet. After all, we still need to rely on them to obtain information. You've made us lose our only source of information." Jia Liwen had been impulsive just now, and she had already vented most of it. "I know I shouldn't have done that, but I just couldn't help it. Those guys are simply unreasonable. Did they learn magic in kindergarten?" Although it was a bit too much to say that they were from the Duke's mansion. However, as the person involved, Xiaohe felt that it made sense. Of course, Xiaohe was much more rational. After all, they came from an area with the most supernatural activities. But Jia Liwen was a true American. But when Cordelis said that Jia Liwen was the heir of a top Chinese inheritance, everyone in the Duke's residence gasped. Otherwise, they couldn't explain why Jia Liwen was so powerful. "As long as you two are willing to agree to our request, we can agree to anything." "No, we can't be instructors. We still have our own things to do." "What do you want to do?" "We can do it for you." Xiaohe and Jia Liwen glanced at each other. They were also hesitant. But if they really agreed, what would they teach? How would they train them? They had been trained by Chen Zhao for 2 months. But how to train others was another matter. They couldn't copy Chen Zhao's training method for the people in the Duke's residence. It wouldn't work at all. They couldn't do it either. More importantly, Chen Zhao could find all kinds of dangers for them to try and beat up because he was strong enough. He could ensure that his enemies would attack at the crucial moment even though they were dangerous. But they couldn't do it. Chapter 30-33. "We don't have much time," Xiaohe said. "We have to leave in a week at most. Even if it's just a week, we need more experience, more useful experience," Cranliso said. "We actually don't have much experience," Xiaohe said. "This is our first time doing something alone. In the past, it was always our teacher who took us on missions. It's just dangerous missions after dangerous missions that put us in extreme danger every time. At the same time, we learn to grow. Teach." She didn't know how to do that at all. Neither did Carrie. They could do the same if they wanted to. The key problem was that they could put the newbies in danger. But they couldn't guarantee their safety. In the past, Chen Zhao would bring them or have people from the supernatural organization watch over them. No matter what kind of danger they encountered, as long as it was over the limit, the people watching over them would take care of it. There was nothing the caretakers couldn't solve. Almost all monsters couldn't withstand a single blow from them. "It's okay. We can accept any result. If danger can help us grow, then let us face danger." Carrie and Xiaohe exchanged glances when they saw how determined Cordelis was. "We need to discuss." "Fine." Crandall's was a bit disappointed. He didn't get a satisfactory answer. After thinking it over, Carrie and Xiaohe finally made a decision. They'd agree to Crandall's request. Of course, they'd join the Duke's mansion as temporary instructors. In the next few days, Xiaohe and Carrie would be the leaders of every operation. Every member of the operation had to obey their orders without question. That day, Carrie and Xiaohe led the people from the Duke's mansion into action. The mission was rather successful. The people from the Duke's mansion were very obedient. Xiaohe and Carrie had already proven their qualifications with their strength. The only problem was that the people who claimed to be the most professional in dealing with supernatural incidents were simply too weak. Their problem wasn't just being weak. They also fought without any strategy. They didn't have any teamwork either. Xiaohe and Carrie's teamwork had been honed in actual combat. Now, not only had they grown together, but they'd also reached the level of telepathy. They didn't need to communicate. When facing a monster, they could instantly understand each other's intentions and what to do next. On the other hand, the people from the Duke's mansion were not only weak, but they also often blocked the path of their companions' magic attacks. This was simply suicidal behavior. Not only would he be committing suicide, but he could also kill his teammates. If a teammate was accidentally injured, it was very likely that they would lose the opportunity to attack. In the end, the enemy took the opportunity to counterattack. In the end, Carrie and Xiaohe had no choice but to step in and resolve those troubles. To be precise, it was not a problem at all. To the two of them, the enemy was weak. The people from the Duke's mansion had the ability to solve this problem. But the mistakes piled up again and again. They had completely lost the chance to turn the tables. "Hello, Mr. Chen, are you resting now? I don't know what time it is over there, but I'm having lunch right now." Chen Zhao was surprised that Jiaowen called him. Carrie rarely took the initiative to call him. Unless he was in trouble. "Are you in trouble?" "It's not really troublesome," Carrie said hesitantly. "Then it's troublesome. Tell me, what kind of trouble are you in?" It was obvious that something that could make Carrie hesitate had to be troublesome. "It's like this. We're in Switzerland right now. We wanted to find a local supernatural organization to cooperate with, but we ended up becoming the organization's instructors, temporary instructors. Alright, there are too many things to complain about in your words. Allow me to reorganize my thoughts. Alright, continue. This Duke's mansion is very weak. Unbelievably weak. How strange. You actually have the right to say that others are weak." Carrie said. She wasn't angry. She wasn't angry, they can even hire me and Xiaohe as instructors, so it's not strange that they're weak. "Okay, that makes sense," Chen Zhao said. "So what's your problem now?" "They're too weak. I wanted to use your method, but Xiaohe and I realized that we can't control the danger. Strength, cooperation, and experience are all problems. To be honest, I doubt whether these people are combatants or not. How about this, you and Xiaohe will split up first and each take a few people with you. Let them integrate into your cooperation, and let them cooperate with you. Don't have a battle training every day. Find a few small tasks and keep them busy all day long. But I don't have that much time. I have my own things to do. That's your problem. You and Xiaohe promised them, so you should take responsibility. Mr. Chen. How about you give me a few days?" "No. We agreed on 15 days, so it has to be 15 days. If you don't come back in 15 days, I'll go find you." After hanging up, Jiao Liwen smashed the phone on the floor. Over the past few days, the Supernatural organization had been in charge of the selection for the Youth Supernatural Fighting Competition. Even though they'd relaxed the requirements, they still had to eliminate some unqualified participants. The contestants were also of all shapes and sizes, and there were all kinds of weird and messy things. Chen Zhao went to watch the selection a few times and felt a headache coming on. For example, there was a young man who knew how to control spirits. In order to participate in the competition, he went to catch a powerful evil spirit. Then, in front of the 3 interviewers, West, Jolanash, and Halleys, the evil spirit went out of control. It really went out of control. It turned out that the young man hadn't really caught it or controlled it at all. He'd used a vessel to temporarily seal the evil spirit's movements and then used a method that he thought was feasible to cast some ritualistic magic on the evil spirit. He thought that he'd controlled it. In the end, the evil spirit attacked the young man as soon as it broke free. If not for the interviewers, in any other private place, the young man would be dead. The young man would definitely die. It was possible to control an evil spirit that was far stronger than him. It was possible. Technique, luck, and the number of attempts were all important. Some ritualistic magic couldn't be done on the first try. It required many attempts. The stronger the evil spirit, the more it was like this. Of course, this was only one of the accidents, not the only one. Chapter 30-34. Every contestant's interview wasn't short. It wasn't just a simple job interview. If the contestants made any mistakes during the interview, they might die in the ring. It was very likely that he would die in the arena. They were already prepared to die. No one could guarantee absolute safety in such a competition. But they had to avoid it as much as possible. Every contestant's interview took at least 2 hours. Some even took longer. After almost 10 days, they finally gathered 200 contestants for the preliminary round. The first round was survival of the fittest. First, the 200 contestants would be placed in one area, and then some danger would be created. Then, they would have to fight against the external dangers while fighting among themselves. Most of the contestants would be eliminated, and only 64 contestants would be left. Then, the competition was very simple. There were no points or revival matches. It was just an elimination match. The winner would advance and the loser would be eliminated. West, I've already set up the first round of survival of the fittest. 2,000 evil spirits, 200 magical beasts, and 1 beast king. It's all up to you now. It took Chen Zhao a lot of effort to kill so many evil spirits and magical beasts. He had to go to the serpent world to capture them. The evil spirits were even more troublesome. Chen Zhao had to destroy 3 evil spirit nests to gather 1,000 evil spirits. As for the Beast King, it was the easiest. It was at the early stage of the disaster stage, so it wasn't difficult. At the same time, he had to place a special mark in the bodies of the evil spirits and magical beasts. That way, after the contestants killed them, they could use it as proof. Guild leader, how about this? Each of these participants must eliminate 20 evil spirits and 3 demonic beasts, as well as 3 other participants' tokens. Only then can they advance to the next level. Alternatively, they can directly defeat the Beast King and advance by 2 levels. Moreover, the number of promotion slots is limited to 64. Once the promotion slots are filled, no matter how many evil spirits and demonic beasts the participants kill, they will not be able to advance to the next level. Sure. Chen Zhao nodded. As long as the rules are reasonable, I won't comment on the details. Chen Zhao basically didn't make any decisions. He only provided suggestions. When do you plan on starting officially? The day after tomorrow, West said. But we still need the president to monitor the entire area. We need to avoid casualties as much as possible. Fine. I'll be in charge of the first survival of the fittest. Only Chen Zhao's small world could cover this area. If they were to use monitoring equipment, there would be too many people in charge of monitoring. Even if everyone from the supernatural organization joined in, they probably wouldn't have enough people. Another method was to divide the entire area into smaller areas and assign people to monitor each area. This method still had a huge hidden danger, and it was not safe. In the end, Chen Zhao was the only one who had to suffer. The safest way to monitor them was to cover the entire area with a small world. Just then, Chen Zhao heard the boy's angry shout from outside. Liar! You liar! You're all liars! Therma shouted angrily. I'm here to learn alchemy, not to work for you. Chen Zhao walked out and saw Therma, Ruan's new disciple, arguing with Ruan Faxben. No, Therma, I think you're mistaken. Studying is only secondary. Your real role is to be my assistant. Ruan said calmly, and why do you think the alchemy books you read are free? Those alchemy books will have to be repaid through your work. Seeing Chen Zhao arrive, Therma immediately ran up to him. Mr. Chen, you're the president, Therma said indignantly. You should give me justice. I'm afraid you'll be disappointed. You won't get justice here. Chen Zhao smiled at Therma. You're all liars. Therma was even more furious. I'm leaving. Fine, I'll give you a day off, but you better come on time tomorrow, Ruan said. No, I won't come again. I won't be exploited by you anymore. Chen Zhao and Ruan Faxben both laughed. Don't forget that you signed a magic contract, Ruan said. I think you should read the terms before you sign it next time, instead of complaining that you were tricked. There's a clause in the contract. You're responsible for teaching me alchemy and I only need to learn. It didn't say that I have to do hard labor. Yeah, didn't I teach you an alchemy spell the first day you came? Essence extraction. I didn't break the contract. But in the next few days, you kept asking me to use essence extraction to extract the essence of magic materials. Yes, your effort in extracting the essence of magic materials earned you alchemy books as a reward. See, it's fair. Therma was a bit confused. He covered his head and shouted, Hold on. Let me organize my thoughts. What you said is wrong. This clause says that I can obtain alchemy, and alchemy books are also a way for me to obtain them. Thus, I should be obtaining alchemy books for free, not paying for them. Ruan shook his head. I taught you alchemy, so I've already fulfilled my duty. I never said that you could obtain alchemy through any means. Okay, Chen Zhao said. How about this? For every magic material you extract, I'll give you $100. If you make a standard magic tool, you'll get $1,000. You're exploiting me. I'm still underage. Therma yelled in agitation. Think about it. You can extract at least 100 magic materials a day. After you get used to it, how many standard magic tools can you make? 20. Or 30. This means that you can earn more in a day than your father earns in half a year. Therma wanted to say something, but Chen Zhao said, You only have one chance. You can answer my question now. Accept or reject. Think about it. If you work harder, you can earn more than $1 million a month. What does that mean? Dongran, who I once chose, can't even earn that much in a year, Ruan said. Also, you'll never be the only choice. Your mother's treatment and your unborn sister's condition will require you to provide them with better conditions. Okay, I agree. Therma quickly said. Chapter 30-35. Therma didn't expect to earn so much money so quickly. In fact, if he was more hardworking, he could even earn his dad's annual income in a day. With the money, there would be no problems. What bullying? What exploitation? None of that existed, alright. Chen Zhao and Ruan Fasaben were very satisfied with this result. In fact, that was their original plan. They'd let him suffer a little first and then give him some benefits. If Therma could really refine magic materials or make magic tools 24 hours a day, they would only earn more. In that case, they would only make more money. You're not the only choice. This was a sharp weapon for Therma. As long as he wanted to earn money, he couldn't leave the supernatural organization and Ruan Fasaben. Do you want me to take you home? Chen Zhao stopped the car before Therma. Sir, if my parents see me being sent back by a sports car, they will send me to the colorectal department to see if I've been penetrated by some pervert. They will also investigate my situation at school. Okay, Chen Zhao said. I'll take you to the bus stop near your home. Get in. Therma still got in. To be honest, he was quite envious of Chen Zhao's car. Last time Chen Zhao came, Therma had sneaked to the parking lot and tried to use his alchemy to break the lock on Chen Zhao's supercar. It triggered an alarm. Chen Zhao was kind enough to deduct a week's salary. Can I drive it for a second? No. Chen Zhao rejected Therma. Chen Zhao rejected Therma, who was in the passenger seat. It's illegal to drive underage. I don't want the police to confiscate my car and then give me a huge fine. Therma nodded. Boring. With your identity, you don't have to worry about the police at all. No, that's my problem, not yours. You can say you're not worried. Chen Zhao's attitude was firm. Why would I let you drive my supercar? Which stop? The one in front is good. It's just a few steps from my home. It saves me from taking a bus. Done. Chen Zhao stopped the car and looked at Therma's backpack. Also, I need to tell you that you can make magic tools at home, but don't let your parents know. If they do, it'll be very troublesome. You might even lose your job. I understand. Therma's heart tightened. Losing a job means that the family income will go back to what it used to be. His father needed to work overtime every day, and his father was a firefighter. Working overtime meant that he had to face more dangerous situations. Also, his mother's health had not been very good, and she needed a large sum of money for treatment. Also, she was pregnant with his sister. That was why Therma needed the money even more to ease the financial pressure on her family. No, it wasn't just relieving the financial pressure. He could totally change his family into a better environment. It seemed that he needed to be more careful. The possibility of losing his job made Therma feel a sense of danger. As soon as Therma got out of the car, she saw a young man surrounding her. The young man in the lead had green hair. The green-haired young man put a hand on Therma's shoulder. Hey buddy, what's in your backpack? Can you let me have a look? Who are you? What are you doing? It's nothing. I just lost something, and I think it might be in your backpack. Suddenly, a large hand grabbed Greenhead from behind. Little friend, don't bully my employees here. The group of young people turned around and looked at Chen Zhao unkindly. Asian, you've offended the wrong person. Chen Zhao caught Greenhead's incoming fist. Everyone was stunned. They thought that Greenhead would punch Chen Zhao to the ground. But Chen Zhao caught it easily. You're too weak. Chen Zhao crushed Greenhead's fist and then grabbed his wrist. Inch by inch, Chen Zhao crushed Greenhead's bones. In the end, Chen Zhao threw Greenhead before his companions. You can leave now. I think he might miss the college entrance exams. Good luck. These young people were here to participate in the competition. But Chen Zhao did not expect them to be so uncultured. He dared to attack Therma in front of so many people. This was no different from daylight robbery. The young people did not dare to stay any longer. Holding Greenhead, they ran away dejectedly. Mr. Chin, you're really scary. Therma felt that Chen Zhao had gone too far. You should be glad that it happened in front of me. Otherwise, you'll be taken to some corner and they'll steal the magic materials worth more than $3 million from your bag. Then, they'll be afraid that the owners of these things will find trouble with them and they'll kill you. How is that possible? They don't look like. Therma could not help but feel scared. They wouldn't do something like that. What if I said that Greenhead killed at least 3 people? What would you think? Therma was silent. After a few seconds, he raised his head and asked, Mr. Chin, I think I need to learn some spells to protect myself. No need. You just need to use your strengths and you'll get more protection. This is more meaningful than learning offensive spells. As long as your alchemy skills are high enough, you'll be very safe. No one will dare to offend you. Is that so? Because you can bring benefits, just like me. If you bring benefits to me, then I need to do my best to ensure your safety. Similarly, if you lose your value one day, then you will be discarded by me like trash. Fine. What a terrible thing to say. Please be more tactful next time. Okay, go back. Next time, before you bring magic materials back, make an aura-isolating backpack first. Don't carry a huge pile of magic materials on the street. Mr. Chin, aren't you afraid that I'll sell these materials and keep them for myself? Ha! If you sell them, you'll only get 1/3 of the price at most, but you'll put yourself and your family in danger. Don't challenge other people's bottom line. It's dangerous. Plus, with your young face, maybe you won't get any money and they'll just take advantage of you. So, there's a huge difference between taking risks and being honest. You probably won't be that stupid. But if you do your job honestly, you'll be able to obtain money in a safer way. The long-term benefits will definitely be more than betraying me. So, if you have some sense, you won't do this. Unless Thermef planned to run away, Chen Zhao was not worried that he would sell the supernatural organization's things. Chapter 30-36. 3 days later. Chen Zhao arrived at the venue. 200 contestants had already gathered there. Before these young people, they were full of arrogance. Perhaps most of them thought that they were the best in the world. Before they were tormented by real nightmares. Before they met a monster that could destroy their willpower. They were still proud young people. West stood on the podium and said into the microphone, "Silence, silence." West's words didn't seem to have much effect. Perhaps to most people, West was just an incompetent old man who was in the right place at the right time. West was very unhappy. He reached out and snapped his fingers. The halo of slowness enveloped the entire venue. In an instant, everyone felt that their movements, voices, and even their thoughts were slowing down. What happened to you? It's too strange, this feeling. If anyone speaks again, you'll be in this slow state for a long time to come. Other than when you're in bed, this state won't bring you any benefits most of the time. With that, West removed the halo of slowness. This time, no one dared to speak again. No one dared to underestimate West anymore. Very good. You're smart kids, West said. West said, "The forest behind me will be the stage for your first performance. There are countless evil spirits and magical beasts hibernating in the forest. You need to kill at least 20 evil spirits and 3 magical beasts. The evil spirits and magical beasts all have their corresponding number plates in their bodies. After you kill them, you need to collect their number plates. These will be proof of your advancement. Or, the number plates of the 3 contestants will also allow you to advance. In the deepest part of this forest, there is another Beast King. If you have the confidence to defeat that Beast King, you can skip 2 rounds of the competition and directly enter the January 16th elimination round. Also, in the first round of the Survival of the Fittest Fortress, there are a total of 64 places to advance. In other words, once the 64 places are filled, you will only be qualified to advance if you defeat the Beast King. The rest of you will be eliminated no matter what your results are. Therefore, when you obtain the results to advance to the next round, please advance to the next round immediately instead of delaying for better results. Also, in the first round of Survival of the Fittest, you can attack other contestants, but you can't kill them. Otherwise, you'll be severely punished. West had given a warning. But some contestants still didn't care. They clearly didn't take West's warning seriously. Just then, 3 contestants floated up without any warning. "Ah! What's going on?" Who did it? Put me down. Put me down, shoal. I want to report someone. Someone attacked me. The necks of the 3 contestants suddenly cracked as they were forcefully twisted and thrown in front of the contestants. There was an uproar. Everyone looked at the 3 contestants in disbelief. This is a warning. The person watching you has a very special magic. He can monitor every corner of this forest. Even if you pee in a dark corner, you won't be able to escape his surveillance. So, if you want to do something unclean, you better think about the consequences. As for killing, the most serious consequence is that you'll be killed by the person watching you. Just like you won't even be able to find out who the person watching you is. Then, your necks will be broken. Of course, you can also find out the ability of the person watching you. If you can avoid his surveillance, I can consider you as having passed the first round of the trial. Alright, now everyone, come and collect your number plate and equipment. In the next few days, you'll be spending your time in this forest. The contestants scattered after entering the forest. At the start of the trial, no one planned to interact with each other. Only a small number of people knew each other or were companions gathered together. 2 figures walked slowly in the dense forest. The figures of these 2 people were of opposite ends of the spectrum. One was short and fat like a ball, while the other was extremely sturdy like a raging bull. Osha, did you see the ability of your mysterious watcher? The muscular young man asked. He was a druid from the Society of Nature from Texas, a Quehadil. No, it's a very strange ability. Moreover, the precision of his control is also extremely high. The other short and fat Osha was also a druid of the Society of Nature. Osha walked and ate as he walked. He opened the bottle cap and drank a mouthful of Coke. Burp. Maybe it's puppet magic. But we better not challenge his authority. After all, I don't want to use my own body to try and understand his magic. That's definitely not fun. I'd like to try and see if his magic can break the neck of a dragon. Quehadil was a very special druid. He was a druid of the giant dragon and had the bloodline of the dragon clan. So, he could also transform into a dragon. It was an extraordinary transformation. He was different from other spiritualists with dragon blood. Usually, spiritualists with dragon blood could transform into a dragon after activating their bloodline. Quehadil had 3 dragon forms. Dragon form, Dragonman form, and Giant Dragon form. Each of the 3 forms had their own advantages. The Dragon Beast form lost all of its magical attack abilities and became a pure physical attack. Moreover, it was absolutely violent. Compared to the dragon race of the same age, it had more overwhelming power. The Dragonoid form was a humanoid form with the characteristics of the Dragonoid race. It possessed powerful magic attacks, but was slightly inferior in both physical and magical defense. Giant Dragon form was the easiest to understand. It was a regular dragon form. Osha wasn't as aggressive as Quehadil. He was more interested in food. I just hope to level up as soon as possible. The supernatural organization isn't as weak as people say. I heard that none of the evil spiritualists who came to LA ever left in one piece. There was no exception. The supernatural organization has hidden power. So what? If they had enough power, they wouldn't have to be low-key. Plus, I don't think anyone in this competition can threaten me. Okay, you're the strongest, but there are still many variables in this trial. Chapter 30-37. Quizadler and Osha both stopped in their tracks. In front of them was a leopard-shaped magical beast with spikes growing out of its back. This magical beast was several times larger than an ordinary leopard, and even larger than a Siberian tiger. Its body flickered with blue lightning. Ah, it's a thunder leopard. Osha took a step forward, still holding the snacks in his hand. The thunder leopard's body flashed with lightning, and it shot straight at Osha. Osha continued to eat his snacks. He had no intention of dodging or blocking. Boom! The lightning slammed into Osha's body, but Osha was still eating. It was as if he hadn't been injured at all. But Osha's mouth moved even faster, and he stuffed large handfuls of snacks into his mouth, chewing them. How does it taste? It's not bad, Osha said. Then it's yours. Osha pulled out a bag of snacks from his trouser pocket. He really did pull them out of his trouser pocket. Then he turned and gave them to Quizzler. Hold them for me. Osha brushed off the dirt on his hand, and his muscles began to transform. Soon, Osha also transformed into a thunder leopard, even larger than the real thunder leopard in front of him. Quizzler was a special druid. Osha was also a special druid. To them, this forest was like their home field. Osha looked simple and honest, muttering, "Quizzler is the strongest." In reality, Quizzler and Osha had fought no less than 100 times. But every time, he hadn't won. Not even once. It wasn't that he hadn't won in a tie. It was that he had lost every time. Osha was more like a big boss. Without any communication, he just went up and gnawed. No matter how you looked at it, the thunder leopard that Osha had transformed into was much stronger than the thunder leopard in front of him. The result went without saying. In just 3 or 4 minutes, the thunder leopard's stomach had been ripped open by Osha. Osha found a bloody number plate from within the thunder leopard's body. What a bad taste. Osha returned to his human form, holding the bloody number plate as he spoke. At this moment, 4 people appeared around them. "Sorry, can you give us the number plate?" The one who spoke was a black woman. This black woman hid her hands behind her back, a brilliant smile on her face, revealing a mouthful of white teeth. Osha wiped his face, smearing the bloodstains from the previous battle. He's already attacking his companions. "We are not your companions," the black woman said. "All right, I was thinking too highly of myself." Osha shrugged, although his shoulders and neck were not very distinct. Quizzler walked in front of Osha and said, "The prey just now was yours. These belong to me now. Be careful, that African woman is a good as cursed witch." "What's the difference between this and a normal curse?" "No matter how high your magic resistance is, as long as you're touched by her palm, you'll definitely be cursed," Osha said. "All right, I got it." As he spoke, Quizzler's body began to grow bigger and transformed into a red-skinned draconian. Seeing that Quahadil had transformed into a dragon man, the expressions of the 4 uninvited guests changed. They regretted rashly choosing the wrong opponent. Quizzler had chosen the dragonoid form because it was the strongest long-range damage form. Quizzler opened his mouth wide and shot a ball of dark red saliva at the black woman. The black woman immediately retreated and dodged. Even when she was moving, her hands were still hidden behind her back and revealed between her eyebrows. Quizzler lowered his upper body and stabbed his dragon claws into the ground, then forcefully lifted them up. A piece of rock was lifted up and flew toward the black woman. The black woman finally could not hide her hands anymore. She slapped her palms toward the rock that was flying toward her. The moment her palms came into contact with the rock, it melted. However, when she was melting the rock, a huge ball of lava came toward her face. The black woman's expression changed in shock. "Save me." The black woman finally could not help but ask for help from her companions. No, it should be said that they were allies. However, the next moment, she realized that these 3 allies were actually running away. They abandoned her and immediately turned to run. The black woman's face contorted. "Don't think that I'm easy to bully." The black woman waved her arm, and the lava in front of her immediately froze. It lost its temperature and fell to the ground, scattering into pieces. The black woman placed her palms on the ground and said, "Since I can't touch you, I'll just curse this land." In an instant, a purplish-black miasma began to rise from the ground around them. OSHA had long since escaped from this area. Quizzler, on the other hand, flapped his wings and soared into the sky. Go, die. Suddenly, a red magic formation appeared in front of Quizzler. The black woman's face turned pale. It's over, however, at this moment, Quizzler, who was in the sky, paused. His magic also stopped, as if it had been frozen by something. The black woman did not know what had happened. She was instantly overjoyed. She immediately controlled the surrounding miasma, wanting to seize the opportunity to attack Quizzler in the sky. However, just as she moved, her body was also frozen. What's going on? The black woman tried a few times, but found that she could not move at all. Meanwhile, Quizzler, who was in the sky, was very unwilling to give up. He immediately transformed into a dragon. He wanted to borrow the dragon's power to break free. However, even after he transformed into a dragon, he still could not shake this power. This is the first warning. You can use weaker magic to defeat her, but the magic you used just now was clearly meant to kill her. If there's a next time, I'll kill you. An unfamiliar voice sounded in Quizzler's ear. In the next instant, Quizzler felt pain in his dragon claw. His left forelimb had been dislocated. The power had directly broken the bones of his arm. Quizzler roared in pain. At this moment, the black woman's arms were also dislocated. Then, she soared into the sky and flew away. Cursing Sect, Depot, eliminated. Quizzler landed on the ground and reconnected his dislocated arm. The injury was very light, and he recovered in a few moments. However, this was a warning. If the opponent could dislocate his arm, she could also dislocate his neck. At this moment, he no longer had the high spirits he had at the beginning. He did not even know where the opponent was, and he was already under her control. Moreover, it was the kind of absolute control that could decide life and death with a single thought. This kind of power made him no longer have any hope. If he did not abide by the rules of the trial, he might not just lose the right to advance. He might very well be killed by the opponent. As for the black woman called Depot, she had already been thrown out of the trial. Damn it! What kind of magic is this? How can it be so powerful? Quizzler muttered. Chapter 30-38. OSHA saw through Quizzler's suspicions. You were controlled just now. I even got a warning. Damn it, that Watcher's strength is truly terrifying. Quizzler calmly admitted his own weakness. Even the dragon form can't resist that control. There's no difference. No matter what form I take, I feel like cotton candy in front of that power. He can do whatever he wants to me with just a thought. Hearing Quizzler's words, OSHA didn't dare to be careless. He was stronger than Quizzler, but there was a limit. In fact, he wasn't even stronger than Quizzler. He only surpassed Quizzler in terms of tactical intelligence. Since the Watcher could do whatever he wanted with Quizzler, OSHA, who was far weaker, naturally couldn't fight against the Watcher. Right now, Chen Zhao was sitting on a chair beside a lake. There was a fishing rod beside him. Are all young people so hot-tempered nowadays? Chen Zhao felt a headache coming on. These people weren't that powerful. However, they were all fiercer than the last. If they were facing an enemy, Chen Zhao definitely wouldn't say anything. But this was just a competition. There was even a rule that no killing was allowed. However, since the start of the trial, Chen Zhao had stopped at least 10 intentional killings. Chen Zhao had no choice but to issue a notice to all the participants. From now on, if there was a malicious attack that caused death, then the participant would be immediately disqualified from the competition, and would also be severely punished. In an instant, everyone's bodies were controlled. Then countless cries of pain came from the sky above the forest. Everyone's arms were broken by the force. They were all dislocated. The injury was not serious. Basically, those who had some medical skills or a little bit of strength could press the dislocated part back on their own. However, Chen Zhao's move still scared all the contestants. No one dared to doubt the Watcher's ability anymore. After this warning, everyone became obedient. Even if it was someone with a dark or twisted mind, he would not be able to do so. At least, they wouldn't dare to break the rules under Chen Zhao's eyes. Oh. It's taken the bait. Chen Zhao pulled up the rod and caught a huge catfish that weighed at least 5 kilograms. Just then, 2 people walked out of the forest. It was a man and a woman. They seemed to be around 16 or 17 years old. Both clutching their arms, they saw Chen Zhao on the shore. The girl was a little hesitant. The boy said, "Go over." "Sir." The boy stopped a few meters behind Chen Zhao. "Can we go over?" Chen Zhao turned around and looked at the young couple. "Yes, this is the training ground. You can go anywhere." "Sir, do you know how to set bones? Can you do me a favor? I'm a non-staff member. It's against the rules for me to interfere in the competition." "But, you've already intervened, haven't you?" Chen Zhao looked at the boy in surprise. "When? Why didn't I know about this? Our arms were dislocated because of you." Chen Zhao was even more surprised. "How do you know?" "Because you're the only non-staff member we've met. Judging from your age, you're obviously not a contestant. Before we entered the jungle, I saw you at the edge of the field, so you should be the Watcher." "How did you guess it? Or some kind of divination spell?" "No, I can remember all auras, no matter how strong or weak. As long as I remember an aura, I can feel the distance between the aura and me." "Sir, your aura looks extremely small, but I still remember it," the boy said. The boy said, "Other than disappearing for a moment when you were in the field, your aura appeared here at an unbelievable speed. I can't think of any other possibility other than that you're the one who's controlling this place." Chen Zhao looked at the man and woman and pointed. The two immediately felt their arms being held by some force. Then, with a crack, their arms were reconnected. Even though they'd guessed Chen Zhao's identity, they were still amazed by this unbelievable ability. "Your spell is very interesting. Are there any restrictions? For example, the number of auras you remember and the distance?" "There shouldn't be an upper limit. At least, I've never encountered a real upper limit," the boy said. "I tried it in my school. After I activated the spell, I remembered every student's aura. There were more than 3,000 people in my school." The boy paused and said, "Finally, the distance. I didn't do an accurate test, but I can cover it." "So, you know the location of every contestant here, including me, the Watcher. You even know the location of the evil spirits and magical beasts in this forest. Is that right?" "More or less." "Very impressive spell. What family are you from? Or some power?" "I'm the heir of the Lobeck family, Deezer Lobeck. This is my sister, Cydia Lobeck. My family has already been destroyed. So, are you interested in joining the supernatural organization after this competition? How's the treatment? Also, what rank do I need?" Deezer Lobeck asked. "No need," Chen Zhao said. "Your ability has already proven your value. I can tell that you're not a battle-type spiritualist, so the ranking is meaningless to you. I'm not inviting you because of your combat ability. As for your sister, I can't tell what system she's specialized in, but her combat ability is undoubtedly above yours. So, I'm joining. Why don't we join together? In principle, I'm only interested in you. Of course, I can treat her as a bonus. But if she can display abilities that impress me, she can also join the supernatural organization with her own abilities. She won't be someone else's bonus, right? After all, dignity isn't something that others give you. You have to fight for it yourself. What kind of results does she need to get your respect? Results are secondary. The age gap between the contestants in this competition is huge. Being older is an advantage in itself, so it's not very fair. I need to see something special and potential in her. If she's the kind of person who's stuck behind the age limit, even if she achieves good results and doesn't have anything special about her, I won't invite her. I think you should understand what I need. Chapter 30-39. The siblings glanced at each other. Just then, Deezer looked at the forest. Someone's coming, reinforcement type, Disser Lubeck said. Zedia, this is your best opponent. Chen Zhao pursed his lips. After all, he was an enhancer himself. Now that Deezer said that Sylvia was best at dealing with enhancers, Chen Zhao couldn't help it. Sylvia would always put it on Chen Zhao without realizing it. Chen Zhao also noticed the newcomer. No, more accurately, the newcomer had always been within his surveillance range. One had to admit that Deezer's perception-type magic was almost the same as Chen Zhao's little world. They both had an unlimited number and an extremely wide range. However, they couldn't attack or replenish mana. Therefore, it was equivalent to a weakened version of a small world. The newcomer was a knight, a young one. Silver armor, blonde hair, handsome face. His gaze was extremely arrogant. He was exactly the same as those legendary knights. He was the model of a main character. He strolled over as if he was taking a stroll in his own backyard. You're lucky to meet 3 contestants at the same time. The knight glanced at the 3. He didn't even notice that Chen Zhao was over the age limit. In other words, after I get rid of you 3, I'll advance. Of course, I'll allow you to surrender and hand over your number. Maybe if you're lucky, you can find someone else to take your number. Deezer and his sister couldn't wait for the knight to attack Chen Zhao. Then, Chen Zhao would be pressed against the ground and they'd reap the benefits. As for whether the knight could defeat Chen Zhao, there was no need to consider. They weren't on the same level. Maybe they weren't even on the same level. After all, this watcher had the ability to kill 200 contestants in a second. But after scanning around, the knight's gaze landed on Chen Zhao. You're not a contestant? Or you just look old. At least he didn't lose his IQ. Bang! The knight crashed through a dozen trees but wasn't injured. But during the process, he'd hit them with his face. His face hurt. Really hurt. The knight stood up and covered his swollen face. You're the one who looks old. Chen Zhao roared in rage. Deezer and Sylvia were about to burst out laughing. He had never seen such a suicidal person. Manually provoke the watcher. You're lucky you didn't die. Suddenly, the knight's intelligence went online. You're a watcher. The knight stared at Chen Zhao, feeling like crying. Seeing Chen Zhao's dark face, Knight felt even more pain. He couldn't win. Before Chen Zhao could even move, he was already pressed to the ground and rubbed against it. How could he possibly win? I'm sorry, sir. I was rude. If you want to fight, then fight. Stop talking nonsense. Chen Zhao glared at Knight. The knight regained his composure and picked up the act card that had fallen to the ground and manually installed it. He raised his sword and pointed at Disser and Sylvia. You can choose to attack together. Zedia suddenly turned into a white mist and surrounded the knight. The knight brandished his sword a few times, but he only managed to cut the air. Insignificant skill. The knight raised his sword and shouted, "Knight's brilliance." Suddenly, the knight's sword turned into a golden sword of light. Zedia, be careful. Disser shouted. His sword can hurt you. Zedia immediately pulled away. His body was still in a mist state. The knight waved his golden sword of light a few times and cut the air again. Can't you just dodge? Coward. Watching from the side, Chen Zhao felt embarrassed for the knight. How could he say something so shameless? What happened to the knight's glory? Ignoring the fact that he was fighting a girl. She clearly wasn't an enhancer. Did you really have to make a girl give up her advantage to fight you head-on? Are you shameless? Before, Chen Zhao only thought that the contestants this time weren't good. But he didn't expect them to be this bad. Was West blind? How could someone like her pass the interview? Zedia clearly hadn't touched the knight. She'd been flying around him. But the knight's movements became slower and slower. Surprise flashed in Chen Zhao's eyes. This girl wasn't strong. However, this method was quite strange and impossible to guard against. Every time she circled around the knight, she'd leave a magic thread on him. The magic thread was so thin that it couldn't be seen with the naked eye. Especially under the cover of the fog, his vision was even more affected. By the time the knight realized it, his entire body was already covered in magical threads. What a joke. You want to restrain me with such ugly magic? How naive. The knight waved his golden sword of light with all his might. But to his disappointment, the golden sword didn't cut through the threads on him. Instead, it was entangled by the threads. He didn't know whether to release it or withdraw it. Damn it, the knight roared, his face red. Do you only know such vulgar and despicable magic? Chen Zhao really wanted to send him away. 1,000 miles away. But Chen Zhao was the one who made the rules, so he didn't want to be the one who broke the rules. It didn't matter if the knight had been let in because West was blind. But since he was here, Chen Zhao still decided to respect the rules. Maybe the knight had some hidden card that Chen Zhao hadn't discovered. Zedia returned to her human form. She looked at the knight who'd been restrained. Steel. Crack, a piece of the knight's armor was torn off, and that piece of armor flew onto Zedia's body. Another piece, then it flew to Zedia. Just like that, every piece became a part of Zedia's armor. Soon, the knight was stripped naked. Winnie the Pooh's underwear was exposed too. In the end, even the knight's sword was taken by Zedia. The moment the sword landed in Zedia's hand, the knight's armor and sword turned into the Diablo series. Chen Zhao was even more shocked. Zedia's magic had stolen the knight's magic. In the end, Zedia's threads removed the knight's number that he kept close to him. Damn it, I still have skills I didn't use. I didn't lose. You only succeeded with a sneak attack when I was careless. This doesn't count. This doesn't count. I want to file a complaint, the knight who'd been stripped yelled. He seemed to find this result very hard to accept. He hoped to receive Chen Zhao's approval. Mr. Watcher, this kind of unfair battle is not in line with the spirit of chivalry. They won unfairly. You should stop their despicable actions. Dacer and Zedia both looked at Chen Zhao. But there was no worry in their eyes. All signs showed that Chen Zhao was a watcher who followed the rules. No. Chen Zhao wasn't. Chen Zhao glanced at the disheveled knight. You don't have the right to talk about chivalry with me. Get out, you embarrassing thing. With that, the knight screamed and flew into the air. Chen Zhao threw him out of the forest. Chapter 30-40. Chen Zhao tossed a number to Sylvia. Disser looked at Chen Zhao. How's my sister? Not bad, but she's still not good enough to impress me. Go, let me see more things. I can see everything that happens in this forest. You don't have to show off in front of me. Sylvia's magic was special, but it wasn't enough to impress Chen Zhao. Plus, she didn't perform at a level that matched her age. At least, Chen Zhao hadn't seen it yet. Of course, compared to the clown-like knight, Sylvia wasn't bad. In fact, any of the contestants were many times stronger than that knight. With Chen Zhao's warning, the contestants were much more restrained. The trial was progressing on the right track. Gradually, contestants left the forest with their trophies or number tags to register for advancement. But they were the minority. The forest was huge. Some people hadn't even encountered an evil spirit yet. Being able to advance in such a short time was mostly due to luck, apart from strength. This competition was supposed to be for the government to select talents. But first, they had to pass the supernatural organization. If they really met an outstanding talent, the supernatural organization would obviously stop them in advance. For example, Disser's perceptive abilities were definitely the best Chen Zhao had ever seen. Of course, it wasn't above Shangqing. Chen Zhao hadn't seen anyone more outstanding than Disser among the normal spiritualists. The supernatural organization wanted this kind of talent. So, Chen Zhao had to strike first. In fact, one of Chen Zhao's important tasks as the monitor of the first round was to select special talents. But since they were special talents, they weren't easy to find. Up until now, only Disser caught Chen Zhao's attention. Of course, choosing 1 out of 200 was not an unacceptable ratio. Since they were talents, they couldn't be everywhere. Sylvia barely caught Chen Zhao's attention. The only thing that Chen Zhao remembered about her was her special magic. Her strength and combat ability were barely satisfactory. As a bonus for Disser, Chen Zhao didn't mind having Sylvia. But it was just a bonus, a buy one get one free gift. Her strength meant that she would only be an outer member for a long time in the future. Although Chen Zhao had said that he needed to observe Sylvia more, Sylvia's eyes were filled with doubt. In fact, Chen Zhao already knew most of her abilities. If there were no surprises, Chen Zhao had basically made a judgment in his heart. In Chen Zhao's mind, there were different levels of talent. Disser was undoubtedly close to a perfect score. Not as a combat power, but as a support-type spiritualist. His support ability was almost perfect. Even in the supernatural organization, apart from himself, no one else had this kind of sensing ability. It was foreseeable that once he joined the supernatural organization, he would definitely be an official member. Moreover, he would definitely be the target of all the teams. Such a super treasure would be a qualitative leap for any team. For example, with Disser around, they could know the number, distance, position, and movement of the enemies in advance. From there, they could make arrangements and preparations in advance. In this trial, the speed at which people were eliminated was much faster than the speed at which people advanced. Conflicts between the contestants could be found everywhere. Usually, when two unfamiliar contestants met, they would want to fight. In fact, it was easier to tell who was stronger in a battle between low-level spiritualists. Moreover, such low-level battles were often not decided by strength, but by luck. For example, if both sides launched an attack, one side would be strong and the other side would be weak. But the stronger side might not be able to stand until the end, because everyone's resistance was about the same. Instead, it depended on who hit the other first. Usually, the first attack would hit the target. Both Chen Zhao and the people from the supernatural organization saw these battles through the surveillance cameras. They all had the same thought, rookies pecking at each other. On the other hand, the higher-level spiritualists' battles were not only more entertaining, but also more cautious. Moreover, it was hard to tell who would win if the difference in skill wasn't big. So, the situation in the forest was that the rookies were looking for other rookies. The experts, on the other hand, were looking for prey. Some experts first hunted enough prey, and then directly advanced. Others weren't in a hurry and kept stalling. President, there are 2 people in Area C, keep an eye on them and see how good they are. West called Chen Zhao, even though Chen Zhao was in charge of monitoring the entire scene. Although Chen Zhao was in charge of the surveillance, there were still many cameras in the forest. Area C. Chen Zhao focused on Area C. There were currently 15 contestants in Area C. They were all scattered. What are the characteristics of the 2 people you mentioned? One is a tall girl with white hair. The other is a boy with metal plates all over his body. Ha! Chen Zhao noticed the 2 people West was talking about. The tall girl with white hair and the boy with metal plates all over his body. What's so special about them? The white-haired girl should have a special bloodline. I've checked. She's a hybrid between a snow demon and a human. Apparently, this bloodline is very rare, because only when the 2 truly love each other can they have a hybrid. This bloodline has great potential, even more than the ice magic potential of a snow demon, West said. West said, I didn't see any special bloodline in the other one, but I noticed that he met 18 contestants, 45 evil spirits, and 6 magical beasts in the past 2 days. All the contestants attacked him because of his special attire, but he escaped in the end. The evil spirits and magical beasts attacked him most of the time, but he was unharmed until now. In addition, he accidentally entered the Beast King's activity route and was attacked, but he escaped unharmed in the end. Oh, is it luck? Or his defense? His defense is indeed very outstanding. When he escaped from the Beast King's eyes, there was a lot of luck involved. The upper limit of his defense should be below the upper limit of the Beast King's attack. Chen Zhao couldn't help but focus on the 2. However, he couldn't see what he wanted to see in a short time. He decided to create an opportunity himself. Chen Zhao grabbed the Beast King and threw it into Area C. The appearance of the Beast King immediately sent the contestants in Area C into a frenzy. Most of the contestants fled from Area C. However, the 2 Chen Zhao wanted to observe didn't seem to be in a hurry. Chapter 3041. The white-haired girl also discovered the Beast King's tracks. She seemed to want to challenge the Beast King. As for the other youth, he had metal plates all over his body. It was because he hadn't discovered the Beast King. His perception was appallingly poor. Magical beasts like the Beast King were born with a violent aura. They would roar a few times wherever they went. Then they would release their terrifying aura. They would express their majesty as a king. Of course, the main effect of this aura was to crush the weak. Weak opponents would run away as soon as they sensed this aura. Most of the participants, evil spirits, and magical beasts in this area had already run away. All that was left was a young and frivolous girl and a slow-witted youth. 2 extremes. Young and arrogant. To put it bluntly, they didn't know their limits. As for slow reactions, they were more like single-celled organisms. Actually, the Beast King was helpless too. Its intelligence was actually quite high. It had a rough understanding of its position in this trial. There were basically no participants who could beat it in a one-on-one fight. No. It wasn't just basic. It didn't exist at all. Unless 200 contestants attacked it at the same time, there was no way they could defeat it. But it also knew that it was useless no matter how strong it was. It couldn't do anything. It wasn't a creature from this world. It was from the world of the serpent god. Therefore, it knew very well who the person who caught it was. It was the destroyer of the world and also the owner. The Beast King didn't plan to fight against the gods. No, it was something even more terrifying than the gods. After all, the gods in the previous world had tried. And failed. As the Beast King, it didn't have the right to participate in that battle. But it still witnessed everything from the edge. The serpent god fell like rain. In the previous world, the serpent god was also a godlike existence. It was the will of the world and the carrier of the gods. But even so, it couldn't stop Chen Zhao. So when Chen Zhao appeared before it, it immediately became obedient. It said that it could fry, boil, or roast whatever it wanted. It was lucky. Chen Zhao didn't plan on eating it. Chen Zhao let it be the examiner. The Beast King's main responsibility was to wander in the forest. It would bite anyone it saw and chase them for a few kilometers. It would bully the kids and cause some damage. The mission was simple. They just couldn't kill anyone. This was a little troublesome because most of the contestants were weak. He was the type that could kill him if he wasn't careful. Therefore, it had learned its lesson and walked to places with fewer people. They were just strolling around anyway, so Chen Zhao didn't set a route. However, Chen Zhao didn't want it to stay idle. He moved it directly into a field. It knew what that meant. There was a target here that it needed to actively test. If it didn't shatter the ice, the refraction of the frost ray would be endless. Not only did the ripple shatter the ice blocks, but it also threw the white-haired girl to the ground. A terrifying magic power brewed in the Beast King's mouth. The white-haired girl cursed inwardly and hurriedly cast a defensive spell. Winter Castle. A thick ice wall appeared around the white-haired girl. This ice wall was 3 meters thick. Even modern guns would have a hard time penetrating ice of this thickness. However, the Beast King shot out a mouth cannon and instantly penetrated the ice wall. The mouth cannon brushed past the white-haired girl's side. The white-haired girl turned around and saw a messy scene. The white-haired girl broke out in a cold sweat. Just a little bit more, just a little bit more. If that shot had hit her, she would have died without a doubt. At this time, the Beast King had already strolled in front of the white-haired girl, less than 3 meters away from her. The white-haired girl's heart went cold, but she didn't give up struggling. She clenched her fists and condensed 2 ice blades. The white-haired girl was also decisive. Even though she knew she couldn't beat it, she still rushed forward and attacked the Beast King with the ice blades. The Beast King's figure flashed and it swung its tail again. The white-haired girl was swept away. Chapter 30-42. The white-haired girl stood up with difficulty. She was injured in many places and bleeding profusely. The girl's chest heaved. She put her hands together and her body gradually floated up. Snow graveyard. Instantly, the surrounding temperature plummeted. The trees and flowers all froze. Bang, 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 all the frozen trees and flowers started exploding. Ice shards flew everywhere. The explosion of the plants was extremely powerful. The ice shards were like bullets. The entire place turned into a hail of bullets. The ice shards would explode again when they touched something solid. After that, the ice mist would condense into beautiful mist ice flowers. Then, the mist ice flowers would explode again. It was like there was no end to the explosions. The Beast King was in the center of the explosions. Chen Zhao didn't respond, so it could only endure. This snow graveyard was interesting. Apart from being weaker, it still had its merits. As long as it kept using magic power. Then, this explosion scene would continue. With a little improvement and a little more strength of the caster, this spell would be an excellent clearing spell. Almost there. Chen Zhao finally gave the Beast King an order. The Beast King roared in anger. The exploding ice shards didn't do much damage to it. However, it really hurt when the ice shards exploded on its body. The snow graveyard disintegrated immediately. The Beast King released its magic power, directly disrupting the balance of the snow graveyard. The white-haired girl spat out a mouthful of blood. Her entire body withered. The Beast King suddenly pounced at the girl. "I'm dead." The white-haired girl laughed bitterly. She was too naive. She didn't expect the Beast King to be so powerful. The difference in power was too obvious. So great that it made her feel despair. Just then, something black smashed into the Beast King's head. The Beast King stopped and saw a youth standing in the distance. It remembered this youth. The youth had entered its field of vision before. And this youth was one of the few people who could escape from it. Chen Zhao was surprised. The youth had been hiding nearby while the white-haired girl was fighting the Beast King. Chen Zhao had thought that he wouldn't dare to show himself. He didn't expect that when the white-haired girl was in danger, he would show himself and save her. The Beast King was once again ordered to target the youth. The youth took a metal plate from his body. The Beast King opened its mouth and shot out a black ball. The youth placed the metal plate in front of him heavily. Ring of Earth. In an instant, the iron plate in front of the youth gathered a large amount of earth element. The black ball shot out by the Beast King landed on the earth elementals gathered on the metal plate, deviated from its original trajectory, and bounced into the sky. The iron plate in front of the young man also shattered. The young man hurriedly retracted his palm. "Bastard, you broke my iron plate with just one shot." The young man took down another iron plate and placed it in front of him again. The Beast King didn't attack immediately. Instead, he waited to see what the youth was going to do. However, the young man was also waiting. After waiting for more than 10 seconds, neither side made any further moves. "Hey, come on up." Roar, with a furious roar, the Beast King slammed its paw on the ground and poured a large amount of mana into the ground. In the next moment, beams of light shot out from the ground, closing in on the young man. Prism. The youth injected magic power into the iron plate in front of him. The iron plate immediately turned into a prism. The beam of light that shot out from the front was distorted and absorbed by the prism. The youth turned the prism again and aimed it at the Beast King. Whoosh! The huge beam of light shot towards the Beast King. Bang! The Beast King's head was hit heavily. This was its own attack. But now, it was hit by its own attack. This time, it was completely dumbfounded. Chen Zhao was even more shocked. Such a special spell. What kind of spell was this? When he looked at the young man again, the prism turned into an iron plate and shattered again. "Damn, a few more and I'll be out of the competition," the young man complained. Despite his complaints, the young man still took out another iron plate. He really didn't want to provoke this Beast King. Originally, one iron plate was enough for him to fight a big battle. But against this Beast King, each time the Beast King attacked, he would waste an iron plate. This didn't even include the mana he used. His counterattack didn't hurt the Beast King at all. This meant that even if he used up all the iron plates on him, the Beast King wouldn't be hurt. The Beast King was a bit angry. It started breathing heavily and another black ball formed in its mouth. However, this time, the black sphere took a much longer time to brew than the last time. The black ball was filled with violent power. The young man's expression changed drastically. He took out 2 iron plates and placed them in front of him. Mirror of space. The first iron plate turned into a mirror, but it wasn't an ordinary glass mirror. On the other side of the mirror, it looked like a blue sky. The young man was about to cast a spell on the second iron plate, but he hesitated. After some hesitation, the young man suddenly changed his mind. Substitute. Boom, the Beast King's attack landed. The black ball shot over with terrifying power and speed. The young man's expression changed. This power was more terrifying than he'd imagined. The black ball didn't enter the mirror of space either. Before it could even touch the mirror of space's frame shattered. The mirror of space shattered too. The black ball had already hit the young man's body. The young man's body was twisted by the black ball. Ah! The young man screamed. Half of his body had been pierced through. The black ball continued forward and didn't stop until it hit a stone wall in the distance. The stone wall that was more than 30 meters tall collapsed. Chen Zhao frowned. The young man's body had been shattered. Normally, he would be dead. But his aura didn't weaken at all. As expected, the iron plate on the ground cracked and the young man stood up again. The young man's face was pale. Even he was scared out of his wits. That was close. I almost died. The young man looked at the white-haired girl. Hey, I can't hold on for much longer. You better leave. The girl's expression darkened, but she didn't leave immediately. On one hand, she wasn't happy. On the other hand, she felt that the young man was in danger because of her. If she left just like that, it wouldn't be right. But she'd already used her ultimate move, but she couldn't do anything to the Beast King. The difference in power was too great. They weren't on the same level at all. The white-haired girl felt that the Beast King was a complete bug in this forest. It was an existence that no one could defeat. Why was it here? Pointless, she obviously couldn't understand Chen Zhao and West's intentions. The Beast King wasn't meant to be defeated. After all, it was a disaster-level beast. The young man seemed to be fighting back and forth with the Beast King. But most of the time, he was defending passively. It seemed like he didn't have any good ideas. Hurry up and leave. If you leave, I can run too, the young man called out. Just then, Chen Zhao ordered, send them out. Chapter 30-43. Just then, the Beast King's aura changed again. The white-haired girl and the youth were both stunned. Damn it, how many attributes does this Beast King have? The white-haired girl's face was ashen. The Beast King instantly disappeared before their eyes. Hiss, suddenly, the surrounding trees fell. It was as if something sharp had sliced through them. The white-haired girl was stunned. She looked down. When did her chest get injured? And it was vomiting blood. Then, the white-haired girl vomited large mouthfuls of blood. When the youth saw the white-haired girl vomiting blood, he immediately threw a metal plate at her. The metal plate suddenly turned into a green mist in mid-air and scattered on the white-haired girl's body. The white-haired girl immediately felt her injuries getting better. But before she could finish her sentence, a huge impact sent her flying. What? The white-haired girl's injuries that had just gotten better were instantly worsened. The youth's expression changed again. He quickly ran to the white-haired girl's side and quickly took out 2 metal plates. However, before he could even cast a spell, the huge impact directly knocked him off his feet, and the metal piece flew out with him. The youth was shocked. The current Beast King's attack method was completely different from before. Previously, the Beast King would let him prepare before attacking. But now, the Beast King attacked directly. There was no foreplay at all. Just then, the youth and the white-haired girl felt a force binding them. They were not unfamiliar with this force. They had felt this force before. This force dragged them into the sky and then over the forest. They both understood what this meant. Because they had seen people flying in the air before. And those flying in the air meant that the Watcher had judged them to be eliminated. In order to prevent them from staying in the forest and suffering casualties, they were eliminated manually. Both of them clearly met this condition. They were pressed against the ground by the Beast King. And if they had been any later, they would have been dead. So it was understandable that the Watcher intervened and eliminated them manually. Plop plop, the two fell into the water. They climbed ashore pathetically and looked around. Still in the forest. What was going on? Didn't they say that those who were eliminated would be sent outside? Why didn't they go out? Could it be that the Watcher had made a mistake? The two suddenly realized that there was someone standing not far from the shore. The two of them looked at each other, hesitating whether or not they should approach him. At that moment, the man waved at them. Come here. The two of them became even more hesitant, but they still stood there without moving. But just then, their bodies were pulled before Chen Zhao uncontrollably. Their expressions were a little stiff. You're a Watcher? Yes. Chen Zhao nodded. Come here and sit down. To be honest, Chen Zhao felt bad for torturing the two of them so badly. Moreover, it could be said that they were eliminated because of Chen Zhao's manipulation. West agreed with him. Both of these contestants had potential. However, his current strength could not be considered outstanding. Normally, it would be very difficult to enter the top 16. However, they were afraid that there would be organizations that knew their stuff and would contact them in advance. Therefore, West felt the need to eliminate them first. Then drag them straight into the supernatural organization. Mr. Watcher, are we eliminated? Yes, you're eliminated. Chen Zhao nodded. Then now I've taken a fancy to you guys. The white-haired girl subconsciously covered her wet chest. Chen Zhao glanced at the white-haired girl. She was very pretty. However, Chen Zhao did not have any feelings for then I'll go straight to the point. Are you interested in joining the supernatural organization? The white-haired girl revealed a proud expression. I'm not interested in joining a weak organization. That depends on how you define weak, Chen Zhao said. In North America, the supernatural organization is the strongest supernatural organization. What about worldwide? Low average, Chen Zhao said. The white-haired girl lowered her head. After a moment of silence, she asked, what's your position in the organization? I'm the boss, the president of the organization. I'm not interested in boss who's weaker than me. Say that again. I'm weaker than you. Chen Zhao did not know who gave the white-haired girl the courage to say this. Was it Liang Jingru? Other than that weird ability to control people, what other abilities do you have? The white-haired girl seemed to be very unhappy that Chen Zhao's little world had controlled her a few times. In other words, you think that I didn't really defeat you when I beat you like that? That's right. If you're a man, then fight me fair and square, the white-haired girl said. You should say that to me when you're stronger. No need. As long as you don't use that move, I won't lose to you. Then I should at least let your injuries heal first. Hey, kid over there, can you still use that healing spell? If you can, give me 2 hits. Oh. The youth removed the last 2 metal plates. Then, he threw them at the white-haired girl. When they were in the air, they turned into green mist again and entered the white-haired girl's body. It's quite a good effect. The white-haired girl immediately felt her injuries getting much better. The second metal plate was much less effective, but it still allowed the white-haired girl to recover to a near uninjured state. I'll give you half an hour to recover your magic, Chen Zhao said. No need. I'll recover after I deal with you. Chen Zhao lifted his palm and pointed 2 fingers at the lake. A small black ball shot into the lake. Boom! Thousands of tons of water shot into the sky. The white-haired girl. The youth. Are you sure you don't need to recover? Chen Zhao smiled at the white-haired girl. I think you're right. I need to wait for my injuries to heal before I challenge you. Your injuries are almost healed. My magic hasn't recovered yet. Chen Zhao controlled the spiritual qi and forcefully injected it into the white-haired girl. Cough, cough, stop, I feel like I'm suffocating. The white-haired girl cried in shock. She was almost suffocated by the spiritual qi. When she opened her mouth, the spiritual qi poured into her mouth. You've recovered your magic power. Is that okay? I surrender. No, you have to. Why? I already surrendered. You questioned whether I'm a man or not. I need proof. The white-haired girl wanted to slap herself. She felt that the man before her was more dangerous than the Beast King. Thinking about it, the Beast King had been arranged by the supernatural organization. Maybe it had been subdued by the man before her. The white-haired girl felt like she couldn't back down now. Chapter 30-44. Okay. The battle ended in 1 second. There was nothing to explain about the process. The white-haired girl thought that her spell was amazing. But Jean C instantly destroyed it. Do you have any more questions about joining the supernatural organization? Chen Zhao asked the girl lying on the ground. I didn't say I want to join. Come, take a look. I still have a spell that you haven't seen before. Take this. Wait. I didn't say I won't join. I don't want to hear such ambiguous words. Give me an accurate answer. Are you forcing me to join? I didn't plan to, Chen Zhao said matter-of-factly. But since you're challenging me because I'm a man, you should be prepared. The white-haired girl really wanted to slap herself. After being taught a lesson by the Beast King, she'd realized that she wasn't as strong as she'd imagined. She hadn't learned her lesson. She'd just turned around and challenged another strong person. Fine, I'll join. The white-haired girl wasn't too stubborn. Actually, she was already a bit hesitant and a bit proud. Now, she was just accepting Chen Zhao's invitation. Chen Zhao looked at the youth. What about you? Can I not join? What do you think? Chen Zhao chuckled. I'll join. Now tell me about your spells. Oh, you don't have to. Most of you have special bloodlines and ice elemental spells. There's nothing to say. Chen Zhao's words made the white-haired girl go crazy. In the past, she'd always been treated as the most special. But in Chen Zhao's words, she seemed to have become very mediocre. So mediocre that he didn't even bother to understand her. Chen Zhao looked at the youth. What spell did you use? I don't know. I found some stone slabs at home. One day, I accidentally discovered the power of the stone slabs, and then I began to come into contact with these things. Later, I wanted to carve the patterns on these stone slabs in other places that were easy to carry. At first, I drew them on paper, but the moment I finished drawing them, the paper spontaneously combusted. Later, I tried to use various materials as carriers for these patterns, until I used this alloy board now. The youth said, I roughly understand the use of these patterns, but I don't know what system they belong to. So, you don't come from any organization or family. You've never come into contact with spiritualists before. No, then how did you know about this competition? Don't you have an information office in every city? The young man asked. Chen Zhao was stunned. Then he remembered. This time, other than the participants from some organizations and families, there were also some spiritualists who were recruited. Of course, it was impossible to recruit these scattered spiritualists and hand out leaflets all over the world. Therefore, Wester had placed magical messages in certain areas of each city. For example, a billboard would look like a billboard to an ordinary person. However, when a spiritualist looked at it, they could discover the hidden message on the billboard. Alright, as newcomers, shouldn't you introduce yourselves? Hello, sir. I'm Holmes Davis. As Holmes spoke, he stole another glance at the white-haired girl. He must have fallen in love with her. However, he had to admit that the white-haired girl was truly beautiful. Holmes Davis was about the same age as the white-haired girl. Now that he had come into contact with her a few more times, it was not surprising that he was moved. However, the white-haired girl did not seem to like Holmes Davis. You can call me Nina, the white-haired girl said. Since I've joined the supernatural organization, can you open the back door for me? Let us continue the competition. Chen Zhao shook his head with a smile. No. You lost the bet. That's the most basic rule of the game. Fine. Nina shrugged. Go in this direction and you won't encounter any obstacles. I'm too tired to walk, Nina said shamelessly. Send me out. She knew that Chen Zhao could do it, just like when they'd been thrown into the lake. If you don't leave now, you'll encounter a group of B*****************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************fictional I won't watch you die, but as long as you don't die, I usually won't save you. Hey, are these people contestants too? Nina complained. Aren't you going to deal with them? Don't worry, Chen Zhao said with a smile. They won't advance. They might even disappear without a trace, but not now. There were all sorts of people participating this time. However, it was Wester's mistake to let some troublemakers in. Usually, these troublemakers would not be let into the trial field no matter how strong they were. If they were discovered, they would be killed immediately. There was nothing to say. However, this troublemaker's personal information was disguised well. Wester found something suspicious when he went through the personal information a second time. He followed the clues and found the person's personal information. However, the supernatural organization would not tolerate such people. If they were punished by the law, they would be lucky. However, they just had to come under his nose. Chen Zhao could only use unconventional methods to punish them. Of course, to maintain the fairness of the competition, at least on the surface, Chen Zhao had to be more discreet. However, the competition did not allow people to die. Therefore, Chen Zhao would not kill them. However, he had to make them wish they were dead. Nina and Holmes Davis walked out of the forest. A few people were waiting for them. They recognized 4 of them. West, Jolanash, and Howleys were the people in charge of their interviews. However, they did not know Engelit. Jolanash walked up and teased, I really admire you. You actually dared to tell our president to fight me if you're a man. Nina's face instantly turned red. However, she was still a bit unconvinced. Just laugh now. In the future, I'll beat him to death. You're one of us now. Do you have any thoughts or requests regarding salary? The higher, the better, Nina said matter-of-factly. I don't care, Holmes Davis said. Are you rich? Nina looked at Holmes Davis. My dad is rich, Holmes Davis said. I have a lot of pocket money too. You should have investigated me, right? Son of the Pacific Fisheries CEO, West said. Indeed, you're rich. You don't have any requests regarding salary, right? What about other aspects? I need enough magical knowledge. I haven't been in contact with the spiritual world for long. I want to learn more. Chapter 30-45. The first round of the trial finally ended after 4 days. There were 64 contestants, not a single one too many. As for the Beast King, it was still free in the forest. 2 days before the trial started, some people tried it. They wanted to see if they could pass. Reality proved that they were overthinking. At the same time, it also proved that Chen Zhao was overthinking. The Beast King didn't seem to be of any use. Chen Zhao had thought that some of them could defeat the Beast King. At the very least, there should be a few who could. Reality proved that if Chen Zhao didn't restrict them, those who went to challenge the Beast King would probably be killed instantly. Come to think of it, even the team leaders of the supernatural organization were no match for him. They could fight against or defeat the Beast King now. That was because they had grown over and over again. With the accumulation of countless experiences, they had their current strength. They couldn't say that they could definitely win either. Due to various environmental factors, they could only say that they had a high chance of winning. Therefore, the possibility of these contestants defeating the Beast King was very small. Even the rich sects could only produce 2 or 3 geniuses like this in a generation. It was even more difficult to produce such a genius in North America. Therefore, Chen Zhao's idea was basically wishful thinking. Nevertheless, there were still some who performed well. In Chen Zhao's eyes, they all had the appearance of being champions. To Chen Zhao's surprise, Zedia and Disser actually passed the first round. Zedia was not bad. But Disser's strength could only be described as passable. Disser was a perception-type spiritualist. All of his abilities should be related to his perception. His combat ability could not be any weaker. But with his perception and Zedia's cooperation, he managed to pass the first round. It was unexpected but also reasonable. But this also showed how important Disser was. Zedia's strength was below average. Disser's strength was even lower than average. As for Disser, his personal strength could even be considered mediocre. But just like that, he managed to pass the first test with his sister without any danger. The 64 contestants gathered in the field. Everyone, congratulations on passing the first round, West said from the podium. West stood on the podium and said, but I'm sure all of you have experienced the danger of the first trial. Even with surveillance, 4 people still died. Some people didn't think much of it, while others were worried. 4 corpses were carried out. From the corpses, it could be seen that these 4 had been killed by the Beast King. His death was extremely miserable. Next up will be the elimination round for the top 64 to the top 32. However, it will be more dangerous than the first trial. Chapter 30-46. Teresa watched as the car did not enter the city. Instead, it drove into a remote area. She was also a little panicked. Teresa glanced at the driver. I don't want the money. Just let me out, Teresa said. Are you sure you don't want it? I've prepared a huge sum of money for you. Teresa's eyes flickered and her expression became even more conflicted. She really wanted the money. But, she wanted to live even more. Her original plan was very simple. However, things did not go as she wished. These two men gave her a very terrifying feeling. The more remote it was, the more panicked she became. "Stop the car, I want to get out." "Are you sure you want to stop the car here?" One of the men looked at Teresa. "There are no cars passing by here. How are you going to get back?" Teresa turned around and saw the man who had just poked his head out from the back of the car. There was a pungent smell coming from the man's body. It was a nauseating smell. Teresa saw that the man's pants and shirt were both stained with blood. Where did the blood come from? There were only the three of them in the car. No, there was also Hagrid, who was lying there. Teresa immediately covered her mouth and looked at the man in horror. "What did you do?" Teresa felt the urge to vomit. The man reached out with his bloody palm. Within his palm was a bloody heart. Additionally, the heart was actually beating. It was beating. Also, thin black capillaries began to grow out of the heart. The black capillaries seemed to be searching for something as they wriggled. Teresa instantly felt goosebumps all over her body. "What are you doing? What is going on? Why do you think we brought back Hagrid's body?" "To give him a proper burial." The two men laughed. "I don't want to know what you're planning. I don't know anything. Let me out. I'm good at keeping secrets. I don't know anything. I don't want to know anything. You can trust me completely." Teresa was on the verge of crying. It was too terrifying. This was completely beyond her understanding. "If you want to get out, then get out." The man stopped the car. Teresa sensed something and her face turned even paler. "Let me go. I don't know anything. I don't want to know. Get out." The man who was driving pushed Teresa out of the car. Teresa turned and ran as soon as she got out of the car. But at that moment, a terrifying giant spider blocked Teresa's path. This giant spider was clearly not a regular species. "Run. Why aren't you running anymore?" Two men's voices came from behind Teresa. Teresa's expression became more and more panicked. She had already realized that she had accidentally come into contact with something that was beyond her knowledge. At this time, giant spiders began to descend from the surrounding trees. Two of them had the upper body of a human and the lower body of a spider. "Berev, hold on, let me go. I promise I won't tell anyone about what happened here." Teresa looked at the two of them in a subservient manner. Berev took a step forward, holding the heart with black capillaries wriggling in his hand. "It's hungry," Berev said with a smile. Teresa's scalp was about to explode. "Are these two fellows trying to feed me to this terrifying heart? Don't come over. Don't come over." Teresa was so scared that tears and snot flew everywhere. Suddenly, a red light pierced through a giant spider, then through Berev's body. Finally, it shot into the car behind them. With a boom, the car exploded into the sky. Teresa turned her stiff neck. She saw a few people coming from that direction. There were both men and women. Most of them were young. She saw a girl dressed in a Gothic style stroll over to the black heart on the ground. A girl dressed in a Gothic style strolled up to the black heart that had fallen to the ground. Then, he bent down and picked up the black heart. "TSK, TSK. You guys are so daring. How dare you cultivate something like this? What's this thing for?" Jolanash asked. "It's called the Black Demon Heart. This thing is called the Dark Demon Heart. First, the blood of 10 people who have committed the most heinous crimes must be poured on one's own heart. Then, a black magic conversion ceremony is carried out, and the Dark Demon Heart is born. Then, the person who commits heinous crimes will continuously become nourishment for the dark demon heart. The greater the crime, the more power the dark demon heart will provide. Even if the host dies, the dark demon heart will not die, and can even be transplanted. Every transplant will not only not weaken the dark demon heart, but will even further strengthen it. Just as Hallie's finished, a giant spider suddenly pounced on her. At the same time, Berev, whose chest had been pierced by the death ray, grabbed the black demon heart. Harid stood up again. The giant spider that was pouncing on her seemed to have been thrown into acid, its huge body constantly dissolving. Disser, Sylvia, Nina, and Holmes were all standing outside. "Don't go over," Gaia stopped the four of them. "I didn't bring you here to fight. I brought you here to familiarize you with the job you're about to take on and the enemies you're about to face." Just then, Berev suddenly stuffed the black demon heart into his mouth. Then, an aura 10 times stronger than before erupted from Berev's body. "Looks like this heart is quite old. It's at least 10 years old. It's probably been through 4 or 5 hosts already," Harold said with a calm expression. Berev smiled sinisterly. "Since you know the power of this black demon heart, you still dare to let me take it away so easily? Hee hee. I'm starting to have other thoughts about you, hee hee. The black demon heart multiplies your power by several times, and also multiplies your evilness by several times. I'm not a good person to begin with. The black demon heart only makes me more thorough." But just then, Audon, who had been standing silently at the back, suddenly pierced a hand through Berev's chest. "Audon, why?" Berev looked at Audon in disbelief. "Your power has increased, but your intelligence has plummeted. Why do you think I'm doing this?" Audon pulled out Berev's black demon heart. "You don't deserve the black demon heart at all. You're more than good enough as a sacrifice. Give it back. Give it back." Berev pounced forward to snatch the black demon heart back. But Audon kicked Berev to the ground. At the same time, he placed the black demon heart on his chest. Those tiny black capillaries began to penetrate Audon's chest. "This is the right way to use the black demon heart," Audon said. Audon looked at the gradually weakening Berev. After Berev swallowed the black demon heart, it had already replaced his original heart. Now that Audon had taken it away, it meant that his original heart was also gone. "No. Audon, give it to me, lend it to me, lend me the black demon heart. I don't want to die. I'll return it to you after I'm done." Chapter 30-47. Berev struggled unwillingly. He breathed his last unwillingly. Helios just stared at him. Disser, Zedia, Nina, and Holmes watched as Audon merged with the black demon heart. "Is it really okay to just watch?" Zedia said with a frown. "His transformation seems a bit out of the ordinary." Disser's senses were the sharpest. He could clearly feel Audon's aura becoming larger and more terrifying. That ominous aura was constantly growing. Holmes and Nina were also a bit uneasy. Audon's aura was becoming similar to a calamity-grade beast king. Suddenly, Audon's aura retracted. The next instant, his aura suddenly increased tenfold. Done, done. Black demon heart. No, it should be the demon king heart. Audon's voice began to overlap, as if 6 or 7 voices were speaking at the same time. Disser, Zedia, Nina, and Holmes had never seen such a terrifying aura before. And this aura was like an anesthetic, making them unable to move. Helios faced the tyrannical Audon. "It does seem a bit out of the ordinary." Helios nodded. "But this black demon heart is what I need." Helios raised his arm. Suddenly, countless bone spikes shot out of the ground. They pierced Audon's limbs and body with thousands of holes. Get out of my way. You want to defeat me with this little trick. Audon struggled with all his might, shattering all the bone spikes. Helith took a few steps back and clawed at Audon from afar. A giant black arm reached out of nowhere and grabbed Audon's body. Audon used all his strength to push the hand away, but at this moment, a giant body appeared out of nowhere. The Abyss Demon, Helios's corpse demon. Audon spat out a mouthful of black flames in anger. But the Abyss Demon was completely unharmed by the black flames. It opened its mouth and swallowed the black flames. Audon's body suddenly expanded and pushed the Abyss Demon's hand away. The giant body was covered in red and black lines. Tentacles reached out from his back. His figure was almost the same as the Abyss Demon. Audon roared. The tentacles on his back swept toward the Abyss Demon. But the next instant, the Abyss Demon suddenly turned into a ball of black water. Its giant body suddenly collapsed. The black liquid flowed into Aodan's mouth. Whoa! What are you doing? Aodan could not resist the black water entering his body. Can't you tell? Harold said calmly, my corpse demon is missing a heart. Disser, Sylvia, Nina, and Home all gasped in shock. Then shouldn't the evil heart be destroyed? Won't you be corrupted if you use this power? Gaia glanced at the four youths. You're all too young. How could there be any evil power? People who are controlled by power don't deserve greater power. Perhaps Audon had obtained power that rivaled Helith's. But he knew nothing about this power. Therefore, his ending could almost be predicted. That girl is scary, Zedia said softly. Disser nodded sympathetically. She didn't look much older than Zedia. However, the strength she displayed was dominating. Such a powerful enemy was powerless in front of her. Suddenly, Aodan's body exploded from the black water. The black water seeped out. At the same time, the black heart was pushed out of Aodan's chest. Mine. Give it back to me. Aodan's body was tattered, but he was still not dead. The power of the black demon's heart in his body was still delaying his death. At this time, the black water turned back into an abyss demon, and the black demon's heart was slowly merging into the abyss demon's chest. Harold looked at Aodan calmly. Bugs should go where bugs stay, Harold said coldly. No. That's mine. That's my power. You can't take it away. I can. Harold's palm went through Aodan's body. When Harold retracted her palm, Aodan's soul was also taken out. I can take everything you have. It's very easy, and you can't do anything about it. Helios easily crushed Audon's soul. Disser, Zedia, Nina, and Home felt their scalps go numb. That power and coldness made them feel numb. Harold put away the abyss demon and looked at the four behind her. Finally, she looked at Disser. I heard from the chairman that you have senses that are close to his. How about it? Join my team. Harry's invited Disser. Ha! Harold, that's against the rules, Gaia said unhappily. You should at least let him know how many teams we have before letting him choose. At this time, Jolanash and Engelit also walked over. Norma was the only one who didn't come. However, Norma herself also had an extremely powerful perception. Therefore, she didn't really need Disser. Can I join your team? Nino looked at Harold with admiration. Sorry, no, you don't have the right, Harold said calmly. Everyone. They seemed to hear Nina's broken heart. Among you, only Disser is an official member, Engelit said. The three of you are outer members. Ha! Dai Se was dumbfounded. He didn't expect to become an official member. In his opinion, he was the most likely member of the external committee. After all, his combat power was so weak. Our team's combat power is almost perfect, so we don't lack combat power, Gaia said. However, there are too few perception-type spiritualists and even fewer outstanding ones. Other than the Nightmare team that didn't come, the other teams don't have any perception-type spiritualists, especially someone as outstanding as you. As for the three of them, Celia, Nina, and Holmes all lowered their heads. To be honest, our teams often face enemies of that level. If you're forced to participate in a battle of that level, what do you think your chances of surviving are? How long can I surpass you? Nina asked Harold. Clearly, Harold's words hurt her pride. At the same time, it aroused her competitive spirit. I won't wait for you here, Harold said arrogantly. And I'll never give you a chance to surpass me. Then I'll surpass you. I'll show you, Nina said, unconvinced. Not only you, I'll even surpass the president. Gaia patted Nina's shoulder. I believe in you. Chapter 3048. On the way back to HQ, Nina quietly tugged on Jolinash's sleeve, who was sitting next to her. Why did that big guy answer me like that? Did he think I couldn't do it? Yes, Jolinash answered, nodding. You think so too? Jolinash thought for a moment and nodded. Me too. Is there no one who thinks highly of me? Although all of our goals are to surpass the president, all we've seen so far is despair. If you become an official member in the future and know our president's battle records, you'll probably be in despair too. That only means that your willpower isn't strong enough. Nina looked at Jolinash and the others as if to say, you're a bunch of inexperienced people. Jolinash didn't explain either. The others in the car heard them too. Those who knew were too lazy to explain, while those who didn't also felt that Nina was right. The car returned to HQ. West glanced at the people who had returned. How was the experience? I've broadened their horizons, Engelit said. Just then, Chen Zhao walked over. We've seen the monsters, Chen Zhao said. Now, we'll send them into the dungeon. With that, Chen Zhao left, making a call as he walked. Xiao He, you better tell Jialuan that you only have 2 days left. Do you know what that means? On the other end, Xiao He's heart tightened. 2 days. It seemed that they had to speed up. After hanging up, Xiao He immediately pulled Jialuan to her side. Jialuan, Mr. Chen called and reminded us that we only have 2 days left. Jialuan's expression was ugly too. Just then, coddlers and a few people from the Duke's residence walked in. Miss Jialuan, Miss Wang, we got some information from that guy. We don't know if it's true or not. In the past few days, Jialuan and Xiao He had taught them many things as instructors of the Duke's residence. They'd also helped them break through enemies that they'd previously found difficult to break through. In fact, they performed even better than the previous generation of the Duke's residents. The new era's laboratory, base, breeding grounds, and all sorts of monsters. No matter what kind of enemy they faced, Xiao He and Jialuan performed very well, from combat ability to analysis and control of the situation. Now, almost everyone in the Duke's mansion obeyed Xiao He and Carrie's every word. He wanted to know how strong Xiao He and Carrie were. One time, because the Duke's mansion's higher-ups didn't trust Xiao He and Carrie, as well as their team members' trust in Xiao He and Carrie, the Duke's mansion's higher-ups decided to ditch Xiao He and Carrie and organize an operation on their own. In the end, the entire army was annihilated. More than half of them were dead or injured, and the other half were captured. Cranlesis was one of the captives. After that, Xiaohe and Carrie broke into the new era's headquarters. Perhaps some information was confidential to ordinary people. But it wasn't confidential to them. I think the new era people are like us. They only know the approximate location, but not the exact location. Otherwise, they wouldn't have waited until now. So, we still have a chance. If we can find the exact location first, we can make preparations in advance. Whether it's to trap the new era people or destroy the so-called ancient special bloodline, we'll have more initiative. Crandall's nodded in agreement. I'll go get the information now. You better hurry. We don't have much time here, Xiaohe said. Miss Wang, Miss Carrie, are you leaving? Codlindroth was stunned. Chapter 3049. The people from the Duke's mansion finally found a small island. Xiaohe, Carrie, and the Duke's mansion's operation team all took a chartered plane to the island. Although the Duke's mansion wasn't very strong, it was strong in other areas, such as funding. Almost everyone was a financial warrior. Almost every member of the team was covered in expensive equipment, all of which were extremely expensive, but not easy to use. No one knew who had bought all this magic equipment. It seemed like they only cared about famous brands. Actually, there was nothing wrong with famous brands. In the spiritual world, famous alchemy workshops definitely produced more good things than unorthodox goods. But there was a problem with buying famous brands. Most of the time, famous alchemy workshops produced alchemy products for high-end spiritualists. If ordinary spiritualists wore them, they would really be accessories. As a result, the Duke's mansion's team members all wore equipment worth millions of dollars. But their combat strength was appallingly low. The purchasing staff didn't know what suited their team members, so they just bought expensive alchemy equipment. But the Duke's mansion's team members didn't know either. They just thought that they were too weak and couldn't make use of the effects of their equipment. They didn't know that if they exchanged their equipment for ordinary alchemy equipment that was worth 100 times less, their strength would at least double. Of course, Xiaohe and Carrie didn't know either. They didn't like the Duke's equipment either. But their reason was the opposite. The people from the Duke's mansion felt that it was difficult to make use of the alchemy equipment. But Xiaohe and Carrie felt that the equipment not only overlapped with the properties of their own equipment, but it was also far less effective than their own equipment. After the team reached Lausanne, they took a boat to the lake island. After a few hours of sailing, they landed on an island that was about 7 or 8 square kilometers. The island wasn't very big, but it wasn't small either. Logically speaking, it should have a name. But in reality, the island wasn't even shown on the map. It only existed in confidential files. The island was covered in a dense forest. Some traces of ruins could already be seen on the outskirts. There were huge, obviously man-made stones. There were also traces of stone paths. Why is this place so dilapidated? This island should have historical research value, right? The government doesn't care. From the beginning of the last century to the present, it has been 100 years, including World War I and World War II. More than 40 research teams, exploration teams, and scientific research teams have come here, but every time, people died. Some died inexplicably, and some only had 1 or 2 people left. More than a decade ago, the government even sent the army to escort a scientific research team to the island. But in the end, including the army and more than 20 people in the scientific research team, only an archaeologist and a soldier escaped alive. They didn't say what happened on the island until they died. Every time the past was mentioned, they would hold their heads and shout crazily, "Don't ask me, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know." Things like that. In other words, this island has always been shrouded in supernatural incidents. Why didn't you ask the Duke's mansion for help? According to the information I found, at the end of the last century and the beginning of this century, the Duke's mansion had organized 2 expeditions to the island, but they suffered heavy losses both times. What happened to the Duke's mansion? Did you find anything? Not all of them died, right? Not all of them were wiped out. More than half of them escaped from the island, but they still didn't know what happened. It was said that the dead died in their dreams at night, and they still didn't know what attacked them. It was the same during the second operation, but the second time, they learned their lesson and didn't arrange for people to rest individually. Instead, they rested in small groups, but the result didn't improve. They still died while sleeping, and once there was a death, it was several people in a tent who died together. Is it really that dangerous? Xiaohe and Carrie couldn't help but frown. Carrie said, "Looks like we have to be more vigilant. I don't want to die in my sleep. Most of the people who died here couldn't even bring their bodies back, let alone maintain this place." The group reached the center of the island in 20 minutes. There were many collapsed ruins here, and there were fallen stone statues everywhere. Just then, Calandros pushed a large stone aside, revealing an entrance to a tunnel. The group entered the ruins in a single file. Calandros had a map. However, this map only showed a small part of the ruins. The seniors had paid for it with their blood. The mana here is draining a little fast. Xiaohe sharply sensed that the environment was a little special. Maybe the ruins were made with spirit enchantments. They're really annoying. Carrie didn't know much, and spirit enchantments happened to be one of them. However, they had a way to deal with this situation. The others, on the other hand, didn't have their strength and ability. After walking for a while in the underground ruins, they were already drenched in sweat and exhausted. "Miss Wang, Miss Carrie, in this kind of environment, our mana is draining faster than we can recover. I'm afraid we'll run out in less than a day. Actually, this kind of environment is the most suitable for cultivation. Crazily circulate your mana, and the longer you endure, the better the effect will be. If you can endure for a day, your strength will double. Of course, this effect can only be used once," Xiaohe said. "A day? Double my strength?" "Yes, we've faced this kind of environment before," Xiaohe said. "But only an environment like this with a lot of spirit enchantments can meet the requirements. To put it crudely, it was like drinking water and peeing at the same time. When the two reached a balance point, one's strength would increase greatly. This wasn't an appropriate analogy. After all, a normal person's bladder didn't have such powerful filtration abilities. However, the process was similar. Carrie and Xiaohe weren't in a hurry anymore. They definitely exceeded the time limit. But they were already in the ruins. Exceeding 1 day was still exceeding. Exceeding 2 days was still exceeding. Could Qin Zhao chase them all the way to this relic? So, they weren't in a hurry anymore. You can maintain this state for now. If you can't, use your magic rings to recover your mana. Of course, this effect will be interrupted too. You can improve however much you want. Everyone tried their best to maintain this state. It was very strenuous, but they could feel that this state had significantly increased their upper limit of magic power and recovery speed. This improvement was very shocking. They were growing almost every second. Chapter 30-50. They rested for half a day. Finally, the two of them had everyone set off again. After walking for half an hour, black plants began to appear around them. Pure black plants didn't exist in the natural world. That was because melanin could absorb light and absorb heat. No plant could withstand such high heat. However, they clearly weren't natural plants. Everyone could sense weak magic power from them. And in this dark environment, they probably needed more light and heat. These black plants had broken through the originally flat stone walls. They seemed to be very powerful. Plants had a tendency to grow. Unless they were artificially transplanted, they wouldn't reproduce in a certain area for no reason. And since they could break through the stone walls, it meant that there were nutrients here that they needed, or that the environment here was more suitable for them to grow. This was a large area, and there were black plants along the way. They definitely hadn't been transplanted, or their seeds had accidentally fallen here. There had to be nutrients here that they needed. Xiaohe suddenly waved her hand. Stop. Everyone looked at Xiaohe. Carrie asked, "What's wrong?" "Something's wrong," Xiaohe said. "What did you discover?" "These plants. These black plants are dangerous," Xiaohe said. "Plants? Are they poisonous?" Xiaohe shook her head. "They're following us." "What? How is that possible?" "I purposely dripped a drop of blood on a leaf, but that drop of blood never left me. It kept moving at the same speed as us, so these plants are alive and are following us." No one doubted Xiaohe's words. They immediately grew wary of the surrounding plants. "Burn them," Carrie said. At first, everyone had felt that these black plants were dangerous, but they thought that as long as they didn't touch them, they would be fine. But now, it seemed that they had been too naive. The team members with fire spells began to cast fire spells. Moments later, the black plants on the surrounding walls were ignited. At first, everything went smoothly. But without any warning, the stone wall suddenly cracked, and a dozen burning black plants fell down. They looked like the bodies of animals or humans, with 4 limbs and a head, but most of them were covered in black plants. They were very small, perhaps not even as big as a rose. They were also struggling in pain from the flames. Everyone was surprised. Even though they already knew that these weren't ordinary plants. However, he never expected that these plants were actually alive. At this time, the other black plants also drilled out of the stone walls and attacked the group. Lightning surge. A member of the team released an electric arc, which directly passed through a tunnel that was tens of meters long. However, other than the few black plants in front of him that were burnt and fell to the ground, the other black plants were almost unharmed. The lighting effect of this lightning magic was inversely proportional to its actual lethality. One had to know that these black plants were very fragile. Even an ordinary person could trample a few of them to death. However, this seemingly powerful lightning magic was only worth killing a few of them. Don't use thunder spells, they are plants. Use the fire element. Although plants were not immune to electric attacks, they were different from mammals. In mammals, electrocution can cause cardiac arrest and death. And plants don't have hearts. Therefore, if one wanted to use electricity to kill plants, they could only use a more powerful electric current to evaporate the water in the plants. If the water in the plants could not be evaporated, then this kind of attack would be meaningless. Moreover, these black plants could actually use dark magic. Although he could only use the lowest level black arrow and dark magic spike, he could still use it. However, there were so many of them, and they moved in groups that it made people's scalps go numb. "Fick, use holy magic," Carrie called out. "My holy magic can only heal. It doesn't have any killing power." "No, they are light-averse plants," Carrie said. "Don't doubt Miss Carrie's words." "Hurry up," Cranlisi urged. Fick immediately reacted. He had always been obedient. However, this request caught him off guard. Fick immediately condensed a ball of light in his palm. The light ball shone brightly, and the surrounding black plants immediately stopped attacking. They all drilled back into the stone walls. Only the leaves and a few branches could not be retracted. Their leaves were also closed like starbecks. As expected, the group secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Carrie had reacted in time. Otherwise, these black plants would not be easy to deal with. How long can you maintain it? Carrie asked. If there are no other costs, this light spell can last forever, Fix said. However, I won't be able to use any other spells. Don't worry, leave the fighting to us. You just need to maintain this spell. The group resumed their journey. Along the way, there were still many black plants clinging to the stone walls. However, wherever they passed, the black plants would shrink. We'll be in trouble if we don't have holy magic, Xiaohe said. Fortunately, they are light-averse. Otherwise, it would be difficult to deal with them. Cranlisi knocked on the stone wall. The stone walls are hollow. It looks like they've been hollowed out by these living plants. What are they? Plants. Animals. They're probably the culprits that caused the deaths of the previous inspection teams. Although they are individually weak, there are too many of them. They also know magic, especially when people are sleeping. It's impossible to guard against them. After all, most people don't have the mentality to be wary of plants. They walked for about 3 hours. It was not a long time. The main reason was that some places had collapsed, and they had to clear the path. In these 3 hours, they had actually walked less than a kilometer. The underground ruins were winding downward. They were probably less than 200 meters away from where they had been 3 hours ago. However, the underground ruins were indeed huge. To be honest, I'm really curious. What kind of ancient bloodline could be preserved for hundreds of years? Xiaohe said. Normally, any liquid would dry up after being stored for decades, even if it's sealed well. Let me correct you. The ruins are estimated to be at least 3,000 years old, Cranlisi said. Are you kidding? The Europeans 3,000 years ago were still savages, Carrie said. Xiaohe glanced at Carrie. You're a European too. Chapter 3051. The team stopped and moved on. They didn't run into any more attacks. But their progress wasn't smooth. The spirit enchantment stone here was giving them a lot of trouble. Most of the team members had lost half their strength. Only Carrie and Xiaohe were still able to fight. Right at that moment, Yuan Wu appeared beside Carrie. We can't go any further, Su Wu warned. I smell an unpleasant smell. An unpleasant smell? What is it? Liquid demon, Su Wu said. What is it? A type of tree demon. Carrie knew what a demon was. She had learned a lot during this time. But she had never heard of a liquid demon before. Is this kind of demon very powerful? It's originally the lowest level of demons, but as time passes, it will continue to grow. Liquid demons don't have levels or realms. They can continuously grow stronger, and if given enough time, they will become extremely terrifying. Su Wu said, this liquid demon here might have several thousand years of cultivation. Anyway, it gives me a very unpleasant feeling. Even you can't deal with it. What do you think a great demon with several thousand years of cultivation is? Almost no one can deal with it. Don't even think about it, it's definitely not something you can handle. Su Wu said, not to mention the fact that I haven't recovered to my complete form yet. Even if I was in my complete form, I still wouldn't be able to deal with it. Carrie took a deep breath and glanced at Xiaohe, then said to the others, I have some very bad news to tell you. Everyone turned to look at Carrie. Carrie's tone made them feel very uneasy. In the depths of these ruins, there is an extremely terrifying existence. I don't know how powerful it is. Miss Carrie, even you can't deal with it? Cranlisi asked. Haha, before that thing, Xiaohe and I are nothing. Carrie shook her head. Anyway, it's an extremely terrifying existence. There's no way to deal with it. At least, I can't think of a way, Carrie replied. That ancient special bloodline should be protected by that thing. Even though I can't be sure, I don't think the people of the new era can deal with it. In other words, we have to give up on this mission, right? Crandalls asked in a deep voice. The other team members were also very disappointed. After all, their journey had not been easy. But now, he had to give up halfway. Although they would like to say that they have the determination to face any enemy. However, Carrie's words were undoubtedly very trustworthy. Since Jia Liwen said so, the thing inside might not be something they could deal with. Boom boom boom, at that moment, the walkway behind them suddenly exploded. One of the team members suddenly retreated and left the team. Fane, what are you doing? Colindroth called out. After separating from the crowd, Fane revealed a malicious smile. Carrie pulled Cranley's back. He betrayed us. What? How is that possible? Cranley and the other members were in disbelief. Fane, tell me, this isn't real. No, it's true. Fane said with a smile, you don't understand at all what you're doing. You're obstructing the new era, and I'm just making the right choice. Have you been brainwashed by the evil cult? You actually believe in the evil cult's theories? I used to think that it was a joke, until I met God, a real God, Fane said. Fine said, the teachings of the new era are real. They really have God, and their plan is real. As long as this plan succeeds, God can be resurrected. At that time, I will be given power and eternal life by God. Everyone was furious. Who would have thought that there would be a traitor among them? You're saying it now because you think you can deal with all of us alone. Or can you deal with me and Xiaohe? Miss Carrie, Miss Lotus, the two of you are powerful and outstanding, far more outstanding than any of them. Join us. With your participation, the plan will be much smoother, and your positions will definitely be above mine, Fane urged. Miss Carrie, Miss Lotus. I don't like having another person ordering me around. One is already giving me a headache. I don't like it either, Xiaohe and Carrie refused without hesitation. What a pity, Fane said disappointedly. Fane said disappointedly, but even if you refuse, it doesn't matter. Your ignorance won't stop this plan. Then I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. I don't know if I can stop that so-called God from resurrecting, but you definitely won't have the chance to receive God's blessings. Carrie looked at Fane murderously. Betrayal could not be forgiven. How frightening, Miss Carrie. But do you want to kill me? Fane suddenly opened his windbreaker, revealing the countless canisters inside. Explosive canisters, nightmare poison, black plague. If you attack me, I'll shatter these things. Perhaps you can kill me, but you definitely won't be able to stop me from taking you down with me. In this sealed environment, you'll die even faster than me. Everyone looked at Fane angrily. They wanted nothing more than to tear him to pieces. Oh, that's right. The people of the new era have already started pouring poison gas from the outside. In other words, if you don't hurry up and go in, then once the gas reaches here, everyone will die. Perhaps the gas is ineffective against Miss Carrie and Miss Wang, but it's hard to say for the others. You want to use us to deal with that great monster? Xiaohe asked. Of course. You're so powerful. If I don't make use of you, wouldn't it be too much of a waste? You deserve death. Carrie's veins were bulging. She was clearly extremely angry. You don't have the right to decide whether I deserve death or not, Fane said disapprovingly. Everyone looked at Jia Li Wen and Xiao He in despair. The two of them were at a loss. No matter what they did, it was a dead end. At this moment, both of them felt an immense pressure. They needed to find a way out of the two dead ends. But no matter what they chose, it was a dead end. How could they choose? Let's continue forward. Carrie finally made up her mind. But Codelus didn't know if he should dissuade Carrie at this time. Since that great demon has been staying here all this time, it means that it is not convenient for it to leave this place. Perhaps it has been sealed, restricted, or injured. It's not like we don't have a chance at all. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.